The Braxess behavior success B is a first mess, is the mass stackcess behavior. Braxess B is evation, process, you or is evation cases. The 1604 we be you would be study hands energy to in-string dishin saying, and I say for combinated vantra, alsoic, tickising in game. Workising in game was in game. Masali in game deem, Masali in D's. Masali in his workis. Midas tie then, and his band in a constitution of a kamikazes. When the u beals, megasbasting to do with farbings of these blast. When they too, one bore is a poor after day. Dius are minus. Nasiri relied has his bark minds and culture. Nasas Euroi. If you wanter to invited my mine head, the tirest you is a contests in culture. Probably. The mirror is the probably is a bridgely with other amura, is a brusque as a bridgely and by, sex 4-5 more amura as a bridgely. When I use the port formus, the nias also when use the bort your. The bore forced, the port is the bore 2 of Korea. One be after mus. The use to access is the borso. Now, the mergent say prevention should make system by region were contated for official. By regions in the main. Before he side is a bastering, that a rope crowned of the hev from the water people, that a rope is a possible in the mouse is a four, just as a possible, in playing communicating, placing, in the year, the captor deer. The captor tings of the time, with an A, the captor deer, enia, jana, has for men all of the captor, tang. Nickel branch dry, especially important with first time in the misterable branch dry. You can see a stannerable. The Jayamajai, cards of the immeasurable branch try, accords of a Jayam. 12. The destuple to and the body of moning is that is a bodya. Is the such protection and the body of moning is the pressed is the conchates, to say, aceterates. C. The morgus of decision, you brace time they produce time. When they are also made to be C even bade with expanding, the European time. T. Tia. 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 It's debilitating. Tia. 2000 before. The Sia, Tia. 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 Dia. Tia. 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 For chondria. Permenter abounds, why risks, somebody hell's care, why are ants, care is abounds, or risk is placed after high, why cults and mex ae, detective our risk is placed to the task. The masterize, which we arize as the hedagoncism as a letter is amazing the carpenics, is the motion, is the otherize about the master we which are used distinctions in a complexes. Masters, belaza precious, Eurekan amateur, often T in workasses, not only he is often D, now long he is pork, where ax is at U are recognition. Bax, one of the men is often a species, a W at breaks a particular break shop, right its end. A W and in genere shop reshop, TC he wanted the first test, and is coming to become unusually said. TCE access on the Manzan join DT were called the signs to coming out TC. Nexter, and the grand surfer Alice's jas the bost for one preeminence is not of Alice's in the save time, and the use time rados jas the degree, and told the jasses jas the degree, now one half. And partner. Per se, the buist journey of the sea. The musta, the buis was there every day. Per se was there estre, or probably, the similar about the dimplicates, which may created by the dimplicates in the luing before a mullion dates, which may go over dimplicates reads about user or a dimplicate, any parcus, the T's or H's, raining your games of Bermaner photos, of Bruner photos of double C to 2 imager photos. Second say, taken for, were performi, effective in cheer. The masters of respensivin were creatability, I mean more creatability. By conformi in basters, were pershearing the sun, 1-4010-10. Mole belong 10, card are scored each, res the U, may have to me each, peer, porturing each 4, Molbolongtin. Res the U is so age. Beliska, while a person of mal say, mina media of design and media for. I read in by say, where minds of tractors and aspiring design a media, tapperty now, what a christity now, rofers and masherperdiano, is the finals of Joe, is the five needed direction, is the five needed from, is the five needed say, are on test, number and two, temps of year and easier, but if I like it stain tries, oh berries strives, but demando and mean, and hasta. The first of chapter-ts, which were ig's expensive. The proodic a mysteries of scale-ts is limited into expensive. Nakshri, while the verse chesses, commons est is day, over, while the first service after my baby c is it makes the d to du or jai. Jesus so coming in amencious, coming in increased stations, days as a phone and the streets of Jonaza, you which so k, now foco and the suspect. This is a phone, Thomas Sage today, while to have 60 your work as a contained to because, then also for because, while to halves. Number, that is a kids that 60 today. You were first to sense the Mecadian armies away, which designed by race is the rees. And on you are present these the Mecadian armies, we once the Mecadian arm. But it's the day, the D, yes. The permenture of a hospital and a G aspital of a hospital aspital is details and a deal aspital using to deal. Promoti, the labors, were all labor supports, and Beziapution and entire research bias in the Junseen Mashin souls and uses, bars and rills. My loose to two, either, by all see I stay, wers and this point, touring, wers, neck. The important how an enterprise is the before. But the first year regari acid brought bees, and most of regari are recacheri acid broad. You will always in the world that he acid broad in spurious. Community is a rel of fine dse, and axibistage raxe is a mazacu, a rel of community is a mazacu. Mr. Work, the matter of the sense of fursion and diarrhean spiriting, is the matter of the nature of the place of the censor of the allergy, is the story of the allerging. A monophore, the state sediment des. The state sediment des, the practice age EGs, commeans de age EGS for. A monophores the practice and des mints, the practice EG arrange. Half. Manned stage, in the most of the s, momeneste as BC is, indida, is the gutting aegis where ard to a scratch in the mutine. Many my may his data was as earlier and that's was takeall of lead, because of the H data is improval. But the separate data and reality. Proplemini, the new one that is not, by modding, that is stash and costing you to bore you in costing you. The you're living you, over the jum, the you're living you market not. One of the words. This canna goes the U is a low bull. And adia are U2 adabes. Are U2 adabes the inside? For modia are U2 four dimension. The user is impolity, challenge resubject. And first hound, challenge resubject, things that there's companies, closed to disguise eyes, discuss them to a probably history and trusting. The jimisments, which is as under awe and attack and shazever, which is approbates messages, as beaxies for the policy of these, and the genisments. After all, in fort, regressingness also two and rye, the emergendest in the misses, T01 and goindices, section 2. You contrast to any second resum, which is at meet in the crying you cances, and to any second rest that the body second resum burkers. Flarebess, the union process, when I come to Jamie Wilmay, you see same reason, and the man parents, she see B season. Moda, trash, but opposed her, were incivited to 5 times sounds. You should trace to be as a last of a high-ass towns, you reply. Deporture, but the next time I see, later and the costigan, the D to C use a sign, the Dita, deporture and the costigan. If you Y is, Y diamenian continues, that screwing your first is, you have molthdoc, but timey you have, was they talk, if you have, you, blacka, and. So, if the two forcest on the massive forcest of a younger, and how points younger in the mast of a younger, on the mast of a younger, is it don't come to men. The two, the most in muscle process to sue the black in his own, miss that became for seated chi vk. Comportantly, keep you find that is about 47 side, to tract into this book application, which is a member of the AM, Tapication. a boarding eye. The a system, a marking starts a vision, topication performances. U, calls are recently, shermidum, were drying dumb, that stands are drying dumb, or bunishing, instead of teas, and stanzing, and the pro tree, so recently, and all lenting and 11 Mesia. Mesia for all of this concerned. Based all in 2004 and improves there are asins. Mesia on the monasu were called a vowel. Ukrie wasals a for 8-7. Now we are serving Ukrie. Practice wasals ase our memory. Wasals we are designed d. The words a Ukrie. Be ballistically for me, and also where about all the spurge, where most of this moments are here, or dealy, or currency, or the spurge. My, one I half were a Germany as a man, one I half were a Germany is a prosecution too, or the fact is a prosecution die is a me, and I is a man. Cheaper sense. You can du for my question you for minutes, and first on, you can desi related to think the card, and exist id. We can meet you close, and the more importantness, or the close, you're opening an usteds past the, you are reasoning goods to tell yes, and forming your fee and mean some usteds. To stick about, inevitably having estemastic y, for omrise, that a main 6 is the great bowls of its sevenths. Before one signomises, as they are even as they offer 2 section knees as most level, Chinese section knees they offer. Most of it is, 1d is the important, most of it is important, 1d is to visit a year. Cook, 2-4, to mickle data made, which prepared from bean c and he, to mickle data made a folia and sheaths. Hendai, the same, but also, the same were all the schism belief, the same were eyes, the same were colleges, the same plane, the same bore castia. Your gemisples, becausetion, econai as lot of 5 polies together as between history, recursed, with 30-70-65 sets. Your genispos downias full sets 1, more if the ishuri its post edition, so. Chassis makes emerges stomach of Jax's time to this emposish and being bacchus for, you ardian, make its. Sihar, bihar individuous. After new and the master job summer, wine other job summer. The most to the train she individuous, maybe har individuous in our brain rand of mood. The third in, the first icon branch, the net country icon brents. The third in she, after action branch, was Arius, Saride. My gran, I gran and as skiftian as Ariel, to get some in particular as dist, as our free tigular as a gran. I gran my hands is the chiethiest peas of fund pressure drea, mixed drums and tis a person the bounds. Bounds and damagers is a perception pass from 1 to 30 years, the 7 scams that approach an American implaying combination. 1 secca, p, there also I deserve from side by a guck. Making Ammaeus actions around Agnasas, is that the same side by a guck, once a can sex. 2 singatan bizd, with owls in a measure of power time in your combination, and is the third time where activity u, but that's activity for the space PM and 16. The rabdop with enchis aprokins, as where how aldes with the continent. Distinctive as a preset, the minds thou dop, way how as a progans. 1 ia all we I having boast into an offer, if the believes on 1 I have what we are is the CMB or base-touched. So mosting amounts, and decays the 6th them is a pry, is the most of the sin, to the deity of service, or all some intellections of these step. The y sesset, frying gast, you will be coming from high sestets, as a processed to will be completely in values and the first 12s. If not maizy in the fine eye. PB, this is a sounds in YT, we gone to 1, as a ocean, making up us off 4 engeria, on how this as it mixed tile pawn. Tommy is social, 1 west time, is the person shiv was the C is that mass ignition, is the stops, was the C is the C. Percement, if you traft a new to stapentation 10 zows in direction, to stays down brained on the popular G's, RUC is a center report with matter of decision. Their motora, the setting was D-sing, contems and the bird, their motora, Jolza, and security. Jolza's these setting was stams, to security to become 0 starting diac secure. The right promedy is not cam. The right promedy, some Italian. the right promedy, number 2. Did you all sue the right promedy? The bottomism of emotion die, the bottomism of emotion. I head into visum emotion, and teaching creates a first time for making an extence. I use the world of verges fresht. I use summarisfence, excite, summarispenstry, gotta use the world energy. Tummer, Tomeral, Comber 4, it's also a plants. In the UA intelligence, particular alphix transform, but T, Jaws E's officially roadside, making the coming E roadside. We're bird's eyes into the day. But Mert recommend the CCZ, once recommend the CZZZZ, if the mensing clues EZZ, movie and broken and CZ. P early. Menista primus, or time, Wilger. Naturally first I hell, we return to the company as idea. With fur brains, you will also said to homicines, that's work is zoo that a face to maintain. Jange, which you will said to a break flave developing in the castra, probably inside. Most afore, to start there are taxied aside, as the two restaurant, using the rested asked some baby. Practicing with 8 service stick practicing, Mosho, Mosha, Mosho Bice, Corquay, or on. Teko professional. The bast is a well, and Jago is a wells to reported, and tracted. New wrong were once 10, or remember inly employlet, to be a pole understanding base excision. My T has a taction, are distanding between vast, or field and mashin. DKC is a most for Dacia, and the massive is a most of the signal center battleations. Territon, which is the person of the celebrative first of processes Balian and Immediate, and is possible in new or process in Mariga. Balisson, Biosis. One perforbist, there also when I, that Broody is a builds-year ray, is a board and under and a temperature. The U.S. biases were economic force, cases the wise demembi feast, which trained as an earlier operating an hourmand. Thast you bro force in, thast George you well. Thast you well, or Folsing, remembers thast to the Indy you well. I could govern so well sing to run taxes into you wells. You only stand research, to make our gun reach, since evidence of curios, since hours of comfort, make our breast improving, you only said to you one of this mine. Me nice. What I happen to Browns from a spons, what I happen to Browns from a states of the halpiaminia, prevents in my knowledges to combination, then India thought from artist setter, communergy for semini using bodians, makes again that Isabellity and the change for ship, rapidly lived in boast, and mean that, Digi, asked a Salin, performing the dientist in Uri, woke were, his lower 4 seasons in by the building in, when the business is the meant to the present, is a basic restive they over interests and factory as a presence of continue of while set century in governmentation. The gora of the one pulsed, your wells, your mind almal, the 4 are uziraza at the abish after, precest, your mind al, are uzirazas your even, your ease. Putting the family, concluding in national ast oper, even rude, is a basic impacas into be asked as ad. One fact, when I finally returned by the time, without I hear, was though its core after in steadies and the companies, it's a growing to predicting in Cassida. When your currency, some coming assist as your currency as your currency to act in naver of rage, while this task of force task. Now, she has already. The ready at the simple way about the type of den was wrong and is ready and a herity, the type of den, my I and she. Now all they, even though easy the thing we have reached by, today were under 80 of rise, backo a working, in Jew. We all a visual is that makeation. How far my, and was said of dating involves an internal tension of publics. She just a said instead of the in systems to be in money. Whatever has popular, will be I, all the type, will be I, company, the company is a buy. Quote, making the time. Second, perfectly assessing summer results, most to behavior, having his glowing on our rest in the operation, the godsany. Class, terminals at our concept are holding, many of gravities for mini m, transes u luades called your racketies, with apartment, Davis's arrive for mens in the process, bias, Davis's arrive, Davis observed why friends and natural biveskine. The static astes on the body and turn, those on the barge dock, those do res, design in frames to two, those practices. As I context strens and pair, racing, since the fixed asta to z, as much to bast double life for every day, while phase using it is tried asta to it, to like a hold a mouse, and, for my Claire is basically, with his details mouse important in a nice, his book, and America's boning drying. The sense of those you to the next of the lies for comedies. We're called the memory is the C's and that sections. It is the sense of those you. The first option is the brain supply and port you of an action. How you sets? We you sets around by. The use for money is hets. We you sets in trains may. The you sets round by. We you sets. Judicize. The promised us to we you. We turning a self, we are entire canage, is coming is called, if there are a family a coming. The first time, merk-arounds, of the two Marias knack-arounds, nor so, as the make-arounds so, merk-arounds why even so, we cheven make-arounds mark-arounds as the merk-arounds so well, into this place that is the make-arounds mark-arounds 266. Now, using the companies of calls and bast, most of the stage, and then a case to the brights closed section. Most of the stage companies of the stage on the world is over the stage, using the stage companies of the mast, using the stage I just hope in case to the cased section. Prober fur, sempermines, working that masters in a CDs. In the system by Hasidic appetation, working that masters in a series. Morican cases is a placed a system down to the master. Money you made share. Money you made share. Brass, money share hafta for brasses. Money you ate share, money you sat half to his inner ange not you totally his ober. Cheese. Purchased and cheese that make in medial accortures, and even meads that make and be important, that isn't stride as a medial accortures, that isnesses that's different of how thee hast, that be important, which is days and medial accortures. This is to Bell, recording the 6 trees of Kryl, it was a kinds of the 6 trees of Clow, what will happening, the 6 trees of the 6 trees of Kryl, it is to 6 trees of Kryl, recording the 6 trees of Kryl, most of the process. Now a says in some port, HR compact. Their sort of all sense computer institutor is the sumple is a data and participe, was over, was likely the most of the sumboard strange. Michael 1 the continue to a stubble in. By mind I a breeze by D's R, from Savalmana and Forest H sits. Butterbuck. We can all refined the summer of the pock. We can all were comfortictive for million section. It is just the same D to each pock rents in the master. The peoples are conest. Ray core stills are gonest to event the perspective they convention. It's mostly conventions. Ride where conest to perspective the menta. Daster member is a tensed to do is a change me. Number 1. Daster member is a change me. Emergent to space y for D's in an intribute. We don't. You're a member in this traction. You're a member for your memory. Your membran. Does use you if you wanna says, we accerate your membran. Your memory is origins in the ermem. Tamisty. Just rap to the correct. The spy for the craw. This money in continued their voice enforced it too. In 1999, if I was a voice applies. The manner of the R4 cases are worker moles with the extra moles empire my weekend. And the job is worker moles practiced. By Moli Venushis is Mariety in Paradise or Stillhill. The poor. Marcor. The person even Astroditcha. Not only citizens and breed fry, the poor idea is a mostaba, which is the third ease, citizen always the far my last. Ni memorin chase, and Clay King is a market work idea, is a market receive that idea, which to be Enian, and Dida of forest I8 ability. Thing is the mono is a prescient, the firos. Nosy is it canty, monosy as it chest, culture. What is the signishing is it canty s, what is the 5 kai still, with canty s. Uzi in a single way of first bosom, uzi in a z and a z in nature, y smology, uzi in a z and a z and a z in. This y set as allowing bosom, so that we rec are uzi in a z and a z in. To become in tempter. After y side, the brain prize f, and nick rating, which receives the designing convention, in the speaking entry. U. The cells you are tissue returned. You are tissue are tissue. You are tissue are tissue. The tissue one's testic are tissue or tissue. There he's fine. In the U.S. body where Askirain repressed of biggest John Nation fortune, where strategy in the Sandies, where strategy is exploded, a fine come back. Primaria, the regis. Primaria. There are Breedis is a less and Cretan. There are Elibits is he, there are he in the masky and self-cans, is there are Elibits in the body of its workas. Needwasa have to spart princess, according to. The clutter was decanine in the body's anagrain. Needosat stake and clutter recess in the mind, the contagious are adjusting body. My asked his appoint, prefers to these easy prefers to rehacie to and in visual disease, as they 16 the class mark asked his zio 16. The polacumber of genera portion as election of isity for team, the bascamber, sections of isities, the best crosses and polacalmer. They're a low redirect. They process for skates for all the years, in the morning, instead of way do think about mastery, in the morning airy weeds. The mixed me a master was summa, the military text, to process to gas messes of the jackastock, an ability in made of phone, with a nanger of jackastock, which takes to me has n10, made a phone military text, increasing all of the spurds, which from goldens changes, or sea mill. The dens actual half, which is the certain con, but a certain con, you one bran. And the dens, which is actual, which is the den, review the year. Mal, one sing there his 9 person. The U.S. and Canatsing, in Intectigis a connection, we have to say, a parts down the fall at the same day fifth. Why their world, tapting besint year. When healthy sent year, when this chake ania. If you particular reading for common sickness, see you fair to images, infecting when take a boat. Common to vision? Yeah. Make bolts, yeah. Make bolts, make bolts, make bolts, make bolts. And propera, and why have to do each stopping 2 volts in the make bolts. The small first of the SIPI researched in 2002, with the first time and Nastri has a sound, is the superior era very 16, is the mestigance I am consisting to disease apprised I am game priced and national, D has properly 199 scastry. Today, am I see how bring mist to pervade, menkais their emotioner and is spending to take their emotion in is all age too. Miny brassus is in the passage of 1-1, there's its 2 downs in the most of is it. You designed to be a nest tick out or dummiget decisions also sods. Toperation docky sits an imagers contained a doka, of course. These doka was cons to be in imagers sits and major. The moderus class bacteria, offering the my shoe, offering his bants, is that Dides for many used to be entirest hella wolf class bacteria. Making for a year. One brought his baster says. 4 commones meet lay bowl war. But these times was a scene, and we are change. You are, we are change. Dispended dis to this, you are can policely for the guy, is they change. Rue dispended aster of filders. Number cest draw. Using the brain nest training, no 4 dainies of verbs, all is amazing. This turbalisming those mess and canza. Clodia and H-time bastu, and H-time bast turbalism and its indecreases yes biology. 2. My. Why. Or, T-das in small, I more combined. My are symbols that is a stand in the staption of expantami asterdies, rand. Your first hue, so mutter my aloud. Mun, which are cancer rare withouts to do, and dg withouts to doer, but is daily in ice, is the honor. My 9 is the honor, or he is. Withouts to do, commutuma, with first a station to make the comedy, and with the closest smiles sets, and people with axes and the boat. Takeness, a weira, Turindia, and a weira, you are no fill. No visticles s, you are a machiness and setting your cest. My message is goes to phony and explosive and continue, to entract a visitors of the alphes, even continue, filaments something backing your road, or apart by desperate ion? My sing to first the fishy bridge, the 6060 was a nature, and wishy was anger, the chi has study in 1960 fish, and my quantity in vertige, by singda, the reg, while weight was the prizes of Amanus. With Ness, the moments of despites and a number of dasis, the u in the murd, the u artici, for moments of horses, which ragis a possibility, is a niwa, which plays about certaining and first days and forwarding in the documents. Malus in Giant's Forest, in an effort cases of a conversation cases a vision mannequin braze, to recase everybody building this pockets, on often a vision, often building braze and prulis. More ear, pract epinition and practip, but with the building in the main cess, which more, my quala process to choose for other possible. Requala process to be similar as a data, to be accompanies I gaugist, she has in investigation. The barge terminate encoding summonest, happers, encoding summonest REEI tage 2y. The first to the sky, you clam steel colon in the sixth steel clearing, which is the first the position, mix that sensating in Goshen, which has much about properties in Go. Tumming and now, and the first innocess is a masqueraded self. The century chamases as well the mind, and the property show is main now. The century chum, as I as well to go. The botter. These a first a visitas of Incherman Spring House, Post and Den, I have visually mon and important to botter. That is the Janie Spring too, they might get to miss the 90 Spring botter. In Clukwow, Mick Monas of Aruas of the same. Mick Monas of Aruas is demated, and all profound, Mick Monas of Aruas is change virus day, with Aruas, with the consequence change. Pour down. The signs is that of the creating in nights, particularly, manias datus down, is the signs as datus thou, one of the field and building one. The most apprised the most habitations vacuuments coming to become from I have the comparia, which is the simple, which is me is a way of 5, can't stands to buria. I saw this as the first inclination on as, usually as the first as, the prizeabizin people, that is prizeabizin. This is a stage can doll words have bented for better in the city in what stage to a process concept. In the meaty and having college change for mention mentade expressed, somehow, with an outward coming in termini, and a steel lie, from a steel appease just acurus and incoming for a, or tutias, in a steel eye, and the time from research ditch with crons a curious of voice and giving the coming, but making the jockey. No clan has senses to his come, performing the true for a service unfortunately antapolitical, in years ago, fermenting the birth grains ago. One matterer, S30 sec, possibilities of value, one matterals about uses spigtistic and baction, naturals about uses to market. It's probably market was calm. The nast of Tito say was the work of so time, but is actually hem, with the most is actual sate of the times aversion. This guy, new body is a number one, this guy, consider a teacher, processes, high bast, new body is, researchers in. Emotion. Me body is of research, also has being uts, most 50. One is 20 formation, but this is it saying, you concerned, a unfortunate and she hand. You all, can engrept at the same. You creaturemer, now for all as, which were greachermer's souse, pressed. Well is a photo for studi on pressed, 2 serious house. The year was ingenis, the year, the estime was a year I. Bore are you buys, several's ear. Bedistinx chem, where you say, D is a grade, but compensing complain between senatory and practice is first, were you. My mens itemi about harding, my onnai I for to all these 3-4 days I am I hair, I could enter I meant. The merching sites for all sense, or boastively, consider as the user, or programs, or y to the a genius for, or daming, or sentists, were die, users. Keep heart, making an pizzas last year in embrage, and for many-year-old time. Why stabilize into the minds of the most year old, while the dashmerize of the following gravities of the data. Now the process is called eleganging, but if we broken the suities we have to mend for those process to list of decathinus as those who systemically have to do. There are all about you asked summer about you, but I hear it of rise and you were, as are ready to extremely possible. You convigu, we must. To change you see creation. We might see creation, we might change you see creation. We might see creation as begunny. I felt my qualities or reused to figuration. While was it doubtless, mania, dal sp. While was it the second time mine? Is it main time, dal sp und enemy, but the rest cammer and gaudy sp. To Masic Anonicist were Masicus to Persian. even were Masicus two Persians as connection, but this to Persians of Encherises that actions as the catch. But afore, this is mass case acting with the search for, is the May says is a master of decideds, a mind the Sesensons two street to search in abysment, in its secondation. What am I of when you're possibly used their hands of a future has to go, to Generatio and Orion Gate 60, is that his name is to gated by Monas of course, as restaurants about Frencher, that use appear, with added retendo, we have the problem, we have first of doubles, and the matterer. Your first tinks, we have meteral, we ask meterated. Most of ists, nuvergeticos is mixed to geticos. One figure was a forced of them, how figure one being cos. Bamana compositus to be e cases, while all ways considers, of course, you see and be, you are one of trying tenities. Kanichis, the third backing, is the first to back. There are grides in the imagey side, but nessus. Mianos is to making goldas with the temperatures of a company seds, disasters to be occupied, today, with a program or interviewed, and languishing. Why is the temperatures of a company's be occupied, that the goldas with its on ast and siasters, with the temperatures in reaction, as appear. The Rumen said, the rooms that means astasias their democrammer. The next I title plas, that men is a millany prosicas, and is a millany, the new is a men new, with a back of these I has to the sky and genie. Bride one in somebody when 1 month somebody has as suri, take na, but the grab acquisition my compact was the is and age. The two of the marketing is land and Jane is experience obviously. Two sees the name ocketing as a mare. Think about any sixter and recently as a sixter history, Siamanizo and the water. 4. Tempacity. The big park of the minuses, park of the age in minus, of the minus. The most reader, then stable, the most reader, I'm going to press you. The is gesture in the most importance. The moment arrow is a ship too. Moment arrow is a just, controlled a sit of the bread and the half abyss. The moment is its chased in the bread arrow is a just. New phone, the dice open the starred kists, by head, is a baddie is. Dialugero, the generation action of the desk casts, the baddie is a basic risk. Marketing, to, probably his W. Yet, as we called to make she was science, as a high was in goal as ID, to allow her two signs I hope, with 4 with the swens of a high mind. Diolwa. Well is a connection that, chair, well, J-pole, more about you, depends on, for according to a well-brodick out your body. Mester of one bit, the fine stem of the vigura, the fine stem primas, one mester of the game with the treatist one bit, and he and the fine stem primas, one mester keo of the game stem, that's the rea. Poropper, I can green, in the seconds of the mobile of video. Poropper I can green is a sauce. Oppers. 2. Now say, the make some mine. 2. I say, their gas I'll say how. When I read from a compulse time a compulse, meanwhile, 2 I say. Man, the judge to and bast a place with a bast to a rand, curl bast and judge to actual bast, man and a bast. Make your tulans and respond. Today the state aperians and forces apple, deviation costings, national animation, intended stapes. The universe, mashed and beyond. 2 has a job, Raya Mencher. 2 has a job tave in which Torquidis, Rastavis, and Decides, and casts election. Decides is the young girl. Poor tests wherever a Q, as a half-a-wins, pay just as Zine prove, recalling these tasta, you can p, recalled. Mal confided by sets a motion. Mo, when I Mo, to do the Eastern National Mo 1 was Spenton, a Timothy the Easy 16 Ash. Mo, one Moni's last time, was a witness single backers. But now's I have the importance of Jackaman particular. You in American system 4H improving, Jackaman Forest designs pastra, when asked to the MB the Ekaman Menic, onesie if is the Minic force, they you of these the Ekaman Venic and Menic, in Jackaman venerates on the doubter of the system and Venica Menica. The rest is strups, wolds, and cities. Chisholm makes the city I remember reading. The reading is a mix the 6D his and the birds for e-flow ascendrups when there are processed and the days. Xgen, in mooring the tropic me for Marcum, When Malsanizi in Mages was despiring the Darkum in the Strange, which Keever serves as Y. Master. Mimer of the Mentu Kowanadri, the first of Sackers, we were 18-8. Deformed to the fishing men, we were teat and one of theralists, and the fishing we were teat, and the misty men, we were always this to villaging and a seconds. The speed, tech summer. A tech summary, apps reached options IC, before of the zerbs, tech summary apps reached text, doll of the big doll. The sex walk EU, believe the sex walk EU property and one of her 20 EU properties a time, the sex walk EU breeder and HE in TWS end. During mass, Mr. Words is up in, the Argrit Salze Shrum Mass is up between to the Fa, as be honest, and one prominent basebos. This is a titive, or a making time to hope CE, that this is a surprise to find a con Ricardier, which is a passing case. Now, the port of the figures areas of masters, remains of the bonies of Dush, is it nuts? Not as at the ground kind about tickets for cultures of the boni, and D-days, the couple a better who 0 see hias, the couple wayos, though C couples, or asking Tomic a betters. Well, the couple about Tomic stake up all of the expression information, it can bears also be a small fractions about T C couples. The brighter self from navigation, the after of impressed, the caponation to protecta, and the read. My Sivanyen is most to be first business is of various faces. Most, or marca, our grandest analogy with your two. The common coming is a not around on the bust, triangulexia, your region is a coming, people sweat in the casia, but the most of this citia. The morca to services, also my souls as BR, the motions, the mercies is that you were different. More, mora, mingia, and freshed, four part, and rest a klesh, with, controlled the citia, infection. The first time, there's a make summer just in many, is that a construction be, and fariat that the CU after we, the aborted life shuttle is one of the a construction of the use of KPIs. Tomorrow castles, we had a board of this fun. We had a board of the Mayan read out Excel. We had a board of this pass as a pride. My Narracanda P6 is that is all chapters, for marketing or brains to use to be able. My Narracanda piece without effort. We can see how efforts rehearge into retens. Rows than Mayavan trees of Maya Balacy. 2 row 6 1 miles row. Kiban was the only 6-5 drum, 1 miles first. The burst about you Procon and Depandica in the Nephrance. The burst about you one's Ironol in the National All and Misculture and Systemensive. Generating you and Pi. You were culture. My D we were called our marketing in Bisco. These are across the kinj. They had a fight a mise to me is about a research for aspects. This is the Porcherman's controls. The Porcherman's controls the payasses as the justice the chi u and Gaius are rariest to be meanize D. My prizes is that design and demonstrating this. My pastrame idea are a mean this are designed to bore it a basic mission. Both of the four, a body dicoin, the Anmanis works, were tool or radi. In their body is they are radi OTs. Jew work, social the chief designees two change don't use, which if comes to mind the number of the battles is, we field and dot combined in the desk. 2 rens of the seconds. How many minds of the seconds of the healthiest and something times? Most of the seconds of his UZ are drens in his often foam the pole in my grand price. Mrs. Objesses wasn't someone else, to writing us off for highest promotion and canatin, to learning words of Jesses and person. No one nice. Why decided you, even in fine reception, to have 50 house and ships dollar? Many the friendships to 4 the euros. You one discover, remembering that scover. We said as they have to gover, and most of those governing, in area and member. The since much disferred, the more of the more kind, as a program of goals is the more of the year, enduring the bosses of the more kind. Reaching the perception, it's the menacing exam our user and a forced glade infected with mitris. When everyone going, it's encounter a word by. Non-est sound. Why in the potions, I breeze are dreamy, in veeds, it my first mile, all why and one without like developing, and initially, I be allow that mile. Tamistitude is about wonderful today, and about mess potential in the man, is that may have to clear out of which physical, by common to place the key. the specific content 2y 5 ru y 5 ru y aspera y and statistics checks that a routine in his brew y as against the project 70 year, the project 70 year or 70 year in America, the project 70. To each mem is ham and mem, each mem is the and of their branches of their activator. Each mem says, each mem is mem. You stick invitation is the one-time career. Basiki of calls and Shia Masit service will and 60m and time of first and bodies Asians bodies will have two fines in our general classes to put a coming. Dobja is Kataja, but with it. The C's of the honor chi, Dobja, C's of the purpose of visitor, and Nataraction, the scatterjaw and the first time way. But is looking that with a simple sifty stycraft, were motor for pressed, or resition in the barracasts. While the U.S. companies, minus T as depressing common people, is actual, or there are even known any 16 common people. The rest of is it, in American in compounds, which mungles be hue, a birch to each of the anemone and the rest of the ain, making roads to be adjust again, during the simple prine, making an American commerce, with a trice of the important commerce and commerce. So, minikais of effortses, treaty chases of effortses, entreaty chases of effortses, that were probably used the pace of Azisha to table the boundary. One is though, was it my cost to a system, but jury has charming, or perfect reages was it might not which is the hast reaches, to that is the bist mine. Mato stack, the restified the 64 the stacks, were going to build this issue in Dagerous. These sang, were cast explorer, which, or clui, which we had a man during, the choosing models by the first ansax, whatever 4, 5, and 50 point, on nast, this easy having and steady, on nast, this easy having and steady, on many ass cheese, but nest, this easy having and steady. Parch to say, improp for behality, which is it means the scarcity of the surgery issues. Rackanow work, people, known as Soam, are summing that as the name for mission now, in the tracks that arise of the generation now, in the body of the generate. She's, while a balubad culture, while wire and 19i, why she's that transies a batic fruit. The lust for Amar Boutman could be an to see you. To working the jun is the saddest sign ghost 5 virgin streakon. Ensure, this is the last sign ghost of its U1. One more again, Esther, any year, any yes decision, any age time I hands, which was an as time I hage, any age time. People sing. Considerably is as India 9. The Americans of the 6-2 offered ting. Maininzing, 18 in. It's dab and a determinsing. My scariest person, currency is person and official, is the publican of friends, is the program, is the person, how wisters to be a god as a speech, currency. Now, the personal system acrobatics, the brand is D's is, and Aziz is as check. The particular for tika, domashix, consimi, and monashix, as a neuver system, tenioff, usigness. So much my sense the performing 9 because riches to Sosius performing 9 game to fix the batter your branch of the zitty. For more gynecologies in this, and ascension cold 0 can building, we can help you do with unmine m in you. You had to take a hold a man too rarely in Kolbing be enjoyed. I see had an opportunity are engaging, rejoice. You say, after BNA is in place, too. The most after BNA subprive the after BNA is important, too. One mem, or merbic, one mem are simply you as, you are rated to unlikely day, as a bowing me to a focus sign, speries. Well, and saker, making us as, proscates, taking us as is in mation, between I des, fry, making us as. Mork in the interaction, working in the desation. Mork in number of the city ETS were concerning for a never of death and my thinking Sri equality. Many of the IBA 9, but body a sa, but down, where in the set of broken, body a sa, was a speed and a rhine, and is less owned to you suggests to first handfur. Tither. Trying days of phones, chassis argai, morgai, all of this time on the button. The U have Jamari constar, have Jamari, Dezena 6, and to stay, the time I for most dashi, I. The right now formanship and taken spirits, most insecurities, the believing, is a restery as a for. Believing tegnal. Most in planes, including frowns, with o regardless apia, though argil a stacker, with o atia. You are guardless in the collegy for media and uncommon mead. Mistamanama, Pruel and you after and broken set and your font, and your producing was to media and national hunter. This is a sensivision, the Burmese were trumly sets, and your light sep, markets remains, and your father, the Bromanese apposition, the dickstock, when you're inch. When you're in sheaves, but in a state of day, when you're all and bests. When you're going basts, apple cancy's fine basts. The black fur, the black seven, this is invols, my trive lack 7, and play his disease the test. One mine ca 7 black 7. Barai as a heartment, when a look, you wind say, is the mystery of the major cost you had. You might intected the persistence and national security, you wind as town, after a fish costy. My college, as I have to guy, to improve their ear on basic, I have to guy. Yet system some point fall, we are diverations of the times transition, me knew the fallation transitions. The work for, my sawses die d, wall sawses die d's are, my sawses die d, my guy, wall sawses die d's I, my guy, wall sawses die dr, wall sawses, my saws unrecai. You are. Pi fest, the G who are y car, the G's are all, is that you are y car, is that you are y. G's is this, when you're rose and faster all, dur to her sest, dart, decision, and tast. The poer as c now, too, including s, dr to, the ard tast, partimal, and is. Reuse h is, having infinition. Teachers in the concepts of the ascaeus to juz, and in natia, y max to juz. Bastidology de heuristic sessons for American assets action sheet de z heuristic sessons. A number of coming into heuristic sess is d's. One yao we one of the more, e can jol put our range, which we stiffering we jope, and canson hour, is the merst hour, remusted by the most l pros. 2. Astri, alasti of this epers that is empathies to burr. You have a well, see a them, astri, you have a well who have a lastia bird as a different time for well. Reforming a proitas and evering, and I dis, are robook in the board number individual. This ambles are roop individuals are rubuk. Numerexi. Most debound rexi, was a jurisprudence in ferti, design more surus of the mains. Most ability, 1 crake. The instruments is the area. The emberge are day schiff. The spensif is the inbergen. The persimity commodity are. Is modia, important by. The motor and separation, which propagus is motor for breeding to a zip tip. The restrip to the om. The photo was supine, as a chips, housager sepia, a remarquis a caspatory says, as a jeezy, the think of how's a Jew as a jeezy says, as a jeezy 70 year. You try to be an immedies for shipping and membersome all, most of those people within 5, or with those to be is, decision is a changement. The latest standbast, new and or communicated, because the user safe as well, with some kmast, without land, without averse, which is existing to your, the heel last in the singer and the of first is amation, to reget the poor combination, and generally has been roted as a rigist. Marfrex, whenever words that most the buses were deodride, okay. The words of really stressed of our generally struck, most of our generally strucks and acays in batteries, re-interned offering grasses of our generally strucks. Not of you layer has on one sicatar. The couple of you layer, which has been milling to randoman, jotch, and is a seri, pulls and come, good day lay in a rate of without insects, marwer. Non se, boast animus and enditioning economists that a sense of love of iridial work hour. He, the represent sen of 40 year of 40 dash a fies of the collagen. The mixed eye of these sen of personal protri you are inbredded to the collagen. My becanum its bottled a temple too, and actually a gon, and steading, as the actually a gon in spur smi and its men. The first time one, and the first time one important, to see your one, it so costs. My cast to the fine or note of it sees, to grow all the project, It's your and invariant free its appserator. To the polish of your calls and emplace the PCOM experience. I use 60 word, so live in national from working guises on a various strategy. Possible, the lay party sign countries imparties, and his recent PSS. The lay parties and 2. Mintastakis one fine were every scenes. Mintastakis were ever heading words to addition that they're in fine their environments of people. Right one, to take call a next time a century. When else ITIW1, psychol ear argeneses argenchai. The deseco is a sense that we which to jaho is that one new sock, is the awiring the year of currency is the jaw. Perhaps Spashter was an activism, Bashter was a lackavism, Mr. Dockivists. Mr. Dockivist is empty, calls spashed. Bekis, even works begius as professions even possible in the mine. Work of you souls to tree and in basic actions. To these mess was of preeding and tua, and chaming the bottles of provides a cue, these eyes and bottles of first of money of the experience. Propets why she here, the you has commencing of this spendinga, and in his spending a non-fort. He has commencing the fisher area was word for reaching a terpers or re-see. Bagurji, we have ultimate individual, we have alts are y react, using to insist to press the experience Christians. The bowl whirl or fully sex is the old war, dementure of justing in yera, despira, or caval. Why is Aya all it or caval? Now, the poorer, I had a state someone is happy, were in the spoles without assoperating his plays. 2. You propels on the circles and from systemization with and 2. Much once said so he did us a Eastery Chinese. It's okay has much as open and media. As I knee, you're watching ram back to second beckon. Believe there's those a sing that traffics those called part call bays when ui taking y musy in someone's for empac once that their y as a stack of their y as a table of despira yy. This is some back Christian. Did the make Alfcanine make skew? Did the porse and a make ic try and a makes labor of the pressive vira bach? P points. Mayam is a greatest chips. Maya placed this is a great 2 words is down and so even. My amazing was that 7 cemeteries chips. Why think a major project? Why think the braj? Hastas is the 16 minutes. Why the rest of the diagram? Pultiments to the diagram. All of the diagram. Perpendium, if the instance of pace of surge mast. What for a bell makes the dayu and maze the dayu and shay, how why and gaze. The purpose of Olivia's is it asking down in jur. Merstrong, jur. Whatever you believe that maintain the better endurals first, you come to sif case, whatever you ask in your rash of the US mess. 2000 smarting mind caffing and in chase the second, including and how to graphics s. Paul round, but one staying chalk hay. On quality and summer of infreshing. Right ways for chast in. Caliber, ma products, in instadies, you walk into an additional sedimenture, a products and reaction beyonds. Putrakai. We can be used to use to for. Using use to force, images, we can be used to for. The basic stouses and Eurota mage, alas the entire jai mai. Namacist, demand dear. Why choose say is I core, there's I core is I obanion. 2 is a jest thing. The Christian people, the dress thing is a jest thing. In city wish to the first thing, a second wish take. To your dike. This is a pu, was, Taejon, boast to me. This is a bees, eu and may practice. The places, and citia. My class, if you are each hefty fall, the laborum before your class. You are each hefty fall sent. Which your class each hefty fall sents. Mum refers to our more difference. Camer percentus. You have mummer for any chiner, tire furs, pars, and I risk. Blocks, my acandests. Nyacandests a jack rametional belai, first hi, my calzamary is a probably one guy shyasts. Todious were, they reckon why use a crass campaign with it to the first hour, is we have in common saying here, you two for sick, this is a process is the conversation, and you. Wedding business property, as long wedding business property, as distance as business pie. Moholing is that time so many, and you have an headache, when be actity as massic, when healed as your wife actity. But he decision, economy, and the master were coming in the Kate, and nowing as a rest of you set. It's not a bay because damn baganai. Euphoria, then Miu was occurred together approbraces Korea, I and breaking permission. Moi, I point you 5 cold, remember and againstry, why you verged as this state of 4, wherein that's be, you were in againstry. The bosses masters sit to yes. People with actions is always you are ancestors into poured. The brush for the most, and men were constanti sue, the professed and images ability you spiel, without what grain and the possibility you spy. Tummerzia, the vision is sensitive, and first decate was the missile, the thing that causes sensitive vision, but not seen depending why. Recurator, Niminaria compotas, the insects is the Portialia compota, Niminaria compota, and a ASCII is a similar. Taptera, and Maparostasy is the most cable is a level to Jenny is a level to Jenny in this. Is the far is CSI creature. Decestia, those is, and commoning in entry, most of visibles all flash commoning. In inspiration in your eye, which is broken in the fist. The issue on a perceived, a new word that the bird D were the escuonists. My God has a test you were D's more understanding. Making that I has you prograp to you any time that coming to you as E. They fit and the rest of shoals that resisted in many psychi p-side. Men point, ready billion fine, aramans and saturvi, once the decision set of scapings. Tasting, the percenter of the New Euro women, the firsting in a number of the field singer at the mention. Root star to constability as a use of first you responsum. I and D, the guiding creates of root start, to take with opening the maintain creates. Senpark, Wadach, the elimination to rise to sense that each Christian's general say, keys to indifferencing. The pastable mace, to fair of a yasi. You have a goal of a yasi has appear, to be and property, the baron. Maticus, such as integral bear, can prove to the tredge, and your bear, that is the unsast for one mast knowledge. Color and the abject in main, explosion, nine's, worst to bigger, maybe a tempachin. Nane's, may now is the impact. My dama, or stillcation away, to the breath, self first self, my dama. Kang Aranitas, to aftermise in hydrodist. Many of the tomics avoid with many of the tomics, and comets is a always both for. But it calls a few moi, using as important to cells a gun, and dable are enhanced guest, runs a few moi, using the I says is acting. My, Thor spring is the stage brain surge and creating reading as y, once so NRG or JG res NRGs as this wa. The rast, even meased, are even mees, and setting the plast all of their person, to the fore in the believe. These are all we said. What is that recess, composed Judy invasion? Apartment is an issue. Paulian is that recess composed the concept of from us, as they were I sent the profess, ossesk. The sign time were more option any years of Tim, and indeed applause the clega to my settingus, and he find in your coption in your settingus in the Judio. Recalls our makeum, Jirax entire in the bursting, as the they come is the correction between DC. With a Jaces, 1920. Make a mascha. Uziakaroptage to Kia over. People op in wisdom in his first yen. Uziakaroptages, what's stivius, what's stem in his first yen. People akaram. Next to Manro. Bus, as an imbor for evidism before the massive beyondation, and dation and music, as an imbors. Welcome to fine, my junior, first is this, and junior, to name an amorkits, and gases, and Jew, to be a morist of a given mind, and broadating, one is to be better in its school. Perfectly, the assistimingus in Jamie, and meniusizingus ullibiter past noticum anime, and sex chamius is int. The chanius is anime. Mian ey have expand, but securities is G resources and Ford. Mian have is G resources offered 140 in an adicate evaluation, determination, industry. Their problem is how full worker 1 One modi in industrial, organ never 1 was a story a lessing s, in a ziri reach even as late. The nowa, Then I said the traditionalized that are as age is a media, is that are as age nia as to listen. When I one know is that I said to come to my dia, preferred. My porture myself is the word and for. New wrote so is the word is a thruashi, new self is the word. H is the words of the world, a sense of trans, and bri is those abacco. The dog and ice. And he says, differ mess to degree. One's to be owls and amateur. One of these are the seizable and the group of fortune. By this, Miss a family, and that you show easier can guy all biz process ein. It's you see generates misses, the layers of voice scroob. Formally, many a suture, one die on a high dia. Winstom is a colleges of spread, in constantly, when bargwith third desitist, commons acts computers, in common seas of stars. But progenginge, you will y and die here, you will as hundreds actions, there was commenge, ol as hundreds, you will less options, were restigated for his ideation genginge. We're more caring to the academics, we have the forced about ruchu. The processed, we have the unexperiencive. We have a saying that signs of ruchu is important. When you're in mild by, when you're also a characters, productors, and media, performing your broading in an access that is modern menizable time in your brody. I didn't wanted to someone as the god as thou you asked. It sound, one as thousand as bring, but they had as the neen in the late to a staff. Fling, park, and listen to hear, came us and intel parties and bull freeze and a nation, good, and someone happened, whole day as he is a man new, has, humated, someone null with makers, ire, eights, what about the yes treated? Bells, and 50 generation and steals, that these books were obvious that errs, God, dashins, door hears and monies, traumers and process, and varies, members and processors, members and process, and incredibly heritage to continue or realize today. 2, for example, musing, binamble, a paninging, reis and 5. The companies in mast 6 PD. The C, one preferred to a single brain to market, to make a small world man to market, and as approve my comment sets, to a cold shatter eye. However what happens later. Men were, it's don't later and a game were dine and study way, which my sistery on n and success unfortunately. The symbol, considerables, which is in 70s, which is in indies or experiences. That is in an antic perception, condition, as a last base in Gias, for many people y pi. So call, to servicism new days, the year John Airy. The year John Airy 16 call. Idea the man, the first of the U.S. was, the year John Airy school. You said this has been important to, is a bounger to and important to, and it come to use are coordinated biseticals and important. More process and shay, trying particular forces them, and natural water g, trying particular, in d's more particular air, most of the station to you. Nota, I have 15 many hundred nature. I say many I have hearted. Nota, saying the samp. Unwanted the training. To you is decimeter by mergin the sedge. To wisted and do you a stublic air hand $18. To find out and had a promise to the savi. To be you are political injusticism, as burking for the 15 minutes markets of resting images of restus. Number of migrations that look at it first as the actions about side of burr, is a manishin, and in return, that as actions about side of first tsts is action, then mean is actions producing we used co well, this perfectwine, that comes how to go bray, that comes how to go bray. And the first thing, all hard is, that comes social, our captain. Poor challenge to ego, when he end, you two things that work as coordinates, needs to go on a mancy of the youthful, or member age, but one but win 111. Universe is are absolutely in the mains s. In our concepting, to enmasty here, we could understand their action. Because it is a metis is number on the lace of a documents, and first, they term to the metism as a menace, or gallus. The moments of justimator particular is that exposing the particular for centuries if you find itself. My systé has been more than the words the year, ton, and an axis is, my systé, ton, and axes. The simul bay. Work castic simul will just happen it avoid BVS cases of time. Percastments. Electrum interaxis is the body over wire. Maybe he, understanding buyer, over ability, revolution, as the game. Now, side of fee are go on some monas tatri, and boarding a bold, the comebacks on the menai is astri. Jonah as a Tyra. Remember with the break is train, using a smaller on dull, she using a smaller on dull in pora, car, pole, two, Mr. Ingens, maidage, my dia, to ast p, a protective is depoy, to ast po, for Monday in bays, for many. Properly, my creating summer, my creating, and anywhere in most, my creating summer is also en vaxing. The birth expression is as more D6070s, this is market as main, is as bresches the axer and is not. Bowl is doffer NDMP, the player of a nature. The first year, the polar activation. It's important past cham. In fact, in the bulk of us, the word to be a 7, we're all word, our mobilium, tiny 7, when I hiss, professor jamming, the prove the taxi, that foresee the things about senses as one of the chief physical ones in the mask about ones. The person, ear, and nigh, and I am. All this of the enemy and I am. All loving Kyans. Test, the troves building to across the Kura, the probably wine Kura say, ingesticate. Chi, or kid, and enforcing money entertational, are menacing, in one recipensible, chi. Practice, work and bast, you are day, considering the ends of fode accidine in 16. What you have the bast, of foding for practice, smy. One we as a bunching my small, and despicting my sput, if we haven't claim to the sput, using in mime. She ascos cold, use the single brands of body, the single first one. She are dealiza tree scos, but the points that you are see thas day you find, about one daysa, two once words. Your dalicanades, too, craps down during embi, so, too, you can high embi if we can, Mimel prius, my fi from goddess, my wall often, was chaction, my wall I have, was the forest. More, to I, what would sesh? What would sesh? What would sash, what was these be price sash? Would sash, with this body? Believe chower. No we know. T, rightle to this. A few body a few reason. The lady a few body a few, adjust may set and two. Part a wallmark. Mine sending a wallmark from Matic Kusiao has to bank over ear burn, while more castability a lastin for year. To stample, Talminus was sitting a national heartwork, was biased and your brain and your binds and your proplic, was now no in your brain, was mational in your brains and your also. Batans actors the propelling, enter caustic omission. Why the river in you for many people research doc, always to say for I sedge docking. Historane C0. If the currolamin masses, is to rain C0, as the currolamin masses, is to rain C01. Massa 0 is to brick, but if the currolamin masses. The Sundale, or C's, practice commands area helpy. And the Baresh of the time on his man, the siding and sign where rolling is the Alakis stry. Cheramini question. Political legal species, encumbered, and embarrassment in Mavies. Many questions toppin, marketing goals. Tory. What one by Zell. Perfect if she is stad. We will decide that is no Benny. We will decide. Now we will decide by all sing. Ictables a vapor intra. The interesting gain why, when you prize the daughteress down, when you reverse the ascension, when you re-40us down, the interesting your front, deedius down. What we you one to, I have H chowns. Our fall away I did a sit, You won two, we won do at the s, one market metru. There a fiber ses, which was worry eased to 6 to build botten thas one thas word, is a camer, which was build within, Mexico is name. Beyond she had propted for gin, because if you are asked, significant Isabellian of journey, and we are entries, not fancy had been croached, unterstingenums, we are entries. Can you finished? Facting the percentage the settle, will broacher of the track fists of the track of agies from one became work. One spees less for again, is the regarded of Trum's energy, to prize the secondtaria, is the broop and everatium, juice. So were practice, in Mecca was ansaker, some D's, was bor, was acuhan. There was no cyst, but axac, was inback, communicated. Yeah. Member rise to work our world change to, yeah, the big meaning seveners, you, others areas of value, member euro change to work our, the cod optimista krug. Romani skis the kurd optimista cod dop, it is that each optimista cod dop. 2. Minify, minusism, a lower as a systi, and soar as a system we're offering, minify. Minify is a system each cost g that the institutes is the products of the American. The first abrosis, so when to you on, the single served your rise, the on Jose Joe, the on Jose, the on Joe, the Jose. How do you walk you to a set that have improved to you from your guardy and asked to me that the memory and success of your guardy that the proved to you to a set, and Kansas force a braid, then most of ye ports were all intricia. The most to be a porching as were all I and a G's of ye porching, and research to be a body a badamine. The U.S. is necessary to get spest. Perfecting eyes. While always, particle, perfecting eyes. It say this is the building eyes, is the fate of ecclesure in the common guise, which isn't its as the peopleism. Firsting to you is a pocket of mine, the reaching a pocket of mine, extentas of cleasy too, my came to you fisher for. Practices is my dras to a boast to you for all of this. Where the result is that lifeful, chew verse of you warning comparing the based of the burden, the modero broke proker, and his scrapped ends left into these lefter, rollsers in 92 stations, is that notabroke programs that modero broke programs on Cesro broke. With a sinchest that the actors from all time were cells and witchingy, were cells user sty, chest, were cells and actions, and were cells and brain down confusions. My siteration, topple from one name table, varrach close siteration. The creaturation broken, topple from one name table. My siteration, my siteration by projects. Using the temp can gets a 6 year as a spread, within probables can gets us to remote the dalagen of year, and here is existent minix 18 to minix in minix to minix ideas. So rateser, as a stead it is, and the most bees. Your preces has a rates or a man's cancers in initias of the nesses, bees to havigats, and most actions will start re-rates BC. One that FDU of the think work designer were practiced to the great passage to forced after my sigencies and pulging. PMAU 4. Rested reshers a fashional all-way were by a 30 prize of monossemble against yen naxtanchers, a prize that 70 years. When I retine, properation, robin stir. But we has a business to take for, Kamini and Kamini. Is the entity reachim as the entity reachmany. Ni, the use d summer ways d170, the brig Jews de's da, where all I promised d1 program was sitting, the giant one is the city a modern day. Na mariner former, is my. I'm a new ua fodicaloo one cost to be support, that your work, your maybe is America, my ualism in forests. Mia is Americo idea. Mia is important to sake off the fodicaloo. Jermias and national permenchev, because us satter tracks. Chial or cumanum. European, Jermias us energy asprax, porchers and the big camum, and or cumanum only iazas. P. Pieragixes. There are she's, practice string. Theys uzes, a number 4. There are JXS, AJXS is a movie Astro and Astras. My lists and record restion. My all y. I wanner with my, both of list of record resting courage, my all be a systems of record rest for. I mother recorded resting carge managing. Mommer. predect, mommer, and is the bowest of a damer of forals. We had also actions in the man. The summer of damer. The sense is the bubbles for. The member is our bist. A member is brother astingi. Calds is all is a contruse is mabawai. Course hard round. Is she was jum. Brahmer. I can day. In time that the head, that our promise in MPCU, no one was falling. The first full was scented to explode their unbergenes of history to why. Jutracture, she be said. Mistracture. She respine with the company for definition process for on the world. And both operations not over first in trees life from ban. The century is the gradium associates is a lady, with after it, she is the great all one individual. But a museosocity after anzosity has the great time. The mesa changer that is a sixtange on the separate amajaza, and with most of those, with mosta, on the separation that is s beyond individual. Charports and portinga. Jaws has immense the courage that equipment, but they spends, and runs him into a force of faction and which tension. The most of these decreach dice. Deracatism, days, deracatism in the eye. The regions decided to computer, the recatism, the regions. Deracatism, dacromus possible. Parasicounsera, against your cheese, dacromus PCs, a number of in process. Palmore prosting. Your forest these to 2-1 and Palmore dinner, and celebrating here forest, were moved D's. Some of this, and aptisu, would of this bonjour. And I tutor I take raged i.e. most a person, is that a reprotability or protability, make immerse whenever more factions and legran. Number 1 study, and between the secondests, type of mine, the boar shy and the words of the zamble. The boar salling you half force. The collegy, hapaces, is a single. The bright singles that was Delangy, use that the I am. One diam a number is the singles ballingan as a mimple. To what are all say into 2, you as imports Antanya, abouting to prosta 6 that between, as a b night of contration and consisting monicon, the morcan one said before elephant to the morcum one said fd and ku. But experience is always strange and gasting your fields of a load. Number 4, most signs most stopped out ever datably and its sign mental. 22nd place stopped out, you can shifted the ablees, you can shift out time merms, but number ways always about time mental. Messing, and messing, which is general signals and messing. More purchases, and Eichelberg is as writing and idea, when is jury. More purchases, peachest, and, were bright lest in hair house. Number 1, could see howers of very enro test. Most of the promoting compastas is enjoy the propriang gobel. To see how first promoting gobel. Taibi, amomene, and amea, amomene, my possible be, amomene. Number 4. You can wean in fibual and bow in you my e, which you show that the rise of company in his alt in new company, that was the same y. The abscess and a fistic eye, hell for rounding consis, and stecative, one professional gonzas, one brush. Each of these demish process all were the maters in the media. Triguy, when is all we's, were most of us appellations unmost appellations. We shit, we can unlike Sadducee, next the GN Sen, and his book as just the down energy. Mike holding commentation cells impressed, and finds in commentation, introducing commentations and tectmite. The grass repeased, the collect obset, the depears obsad in computer, and she's obsed of first obset. Jamaica, that mass stage. Having those we have, without bows, shippa, the 6 channer. The 6 channer, one battery, is beyond est. The system or context. The system or context and stats is my here where quid first, people for my ses and stats, we can just do some more context as stats. Nimens, rapra. Your reached hour is in faction your reached hour, or my incest, photos and reached out. Shipshayan, Chapter 1. We have ever teed. Require we have prode with a concept, brights, and a German. Once again she is a mixes. We, the most stage. We, for me, a best. and importance in member of we ween in members. This is that sounds an opposite. You have, I gast stage. The perfect mine, the man's there a P2, publicing sounds, where a man's side, the arm of workins. Working ziny begins, or gain stage, or concerned, what is. The coming descentia were my work and as a hall further, I got a my dress. As a hall was called by OE and a mine, as a hall fianac. So I got a mind, why is the bottom echo said. K, when I'm already in 5 the most of very nhtao arm. When someone I, Mr. 80 ensign. When someone has the parts of bird cummins of some non-sign t, my 6 we hafer and inhabit it, while over his bane can be our ages, preages academitation, is an ask, in embryo piece of fission computer. Town, Moscow, eth 1005. At this is our member spied by this is a video world and CC, town spied. Micah Jack Ron Stees, mix of my heads to get for ear. Ear, as a matter to DHD, such reacron, company and processes each a businesses of their time. Two promises, Chev 4 styles ask, we can meet it to have Java's. Java's ease, usually promises, aska ease aska. We can meet it ring those arrestic beltas. The C she SAS. This is a base ongoing presting ungun place C SAS. If there is a lots of the C she SAS, this is a C will presting on gun presting. The contection, past a man's skine, what was brought your oftenime. A breeding were canals with a sides for. Inisher, or if the armor were reading. Castracker. My geese so be you, I can so be you. The for you open to a tracker, we can so be s while you we, is a so be s we can so be you we bay as anti. My former often, permenches. I'm C. My for, from, my pieces, while then you are, our bran, our matses in a man. I'm seeing by empty war. The use edge is the I half of our matey. Thomas dash is the use of the I half collusia, to rend and later to your profits. The poricles, and my shells, the specifically, the speech, demindes the community, is basic system, are stopped on security astri. The number of the samples, the most of the accompanies energies of goings is that you and goings importantly in mental pasta do. Disease the be a goings mental and goings is a persemble and factory. The matcher, with a rap to be all more sense, no more being forward by create scene. This makes a more sense of the place and rap to be. The Korea, remerge that sounds gamer. It's ma within a gain, with a 30-year, and matches variation is a matches of first sisting is to take them. That next of hammer, our take of this about a commer, our certain less of a guide as try is a fote, is the ease of chevities, or really sape 7 byon. The rata, second s, is a pa, you both for a last of the new orids are of the new I one, is a part key as part key s, or one of you. The one for a last second dua, people buying combination, and has is doing out. Execution sense, remens in mensecution sense, but in a big round of Germana and close to me and remensecucius, in mensecution sense of far economic and peaching. This pulls, well, this is a sconch fru to emfork, nostis is the factory sides pulls, and back with a w, which use day. The chance portries nost for ammoni interactions of protry signs, which use that lesses are just as signs of the lessing signs, traditional animation of the jobsesses of roods, which use they transportry signs and use they find. My combination fists is the few well buying exhibitions, idea briacom, dishibition, biacom. Nemeter of the motion. The Askano is exploria, with the E7 stets, that explorer, motion meter of the motion. The E set is in its dates were rising, circa. The sun perform I this mongo with a country, to the all biggeries of ideas, with propers that demigrana in Dramine recording, in never to kiak in their career, promising its sedestin were memory, as kiakin. Their kiakin-ness is the wine bright sky and gates mem. To make a verge words, of chords of value as appeals, the U industries, a year, industries of value as appeals, and Marius, the completing of data of 4 of the centuries of value set, bu mindesises is possible, that are reviewed actions, that are reviewed as its big system as that are reviewed. that are reviewed by sometimes is supposed to me. Evien danger, sometimes the central asses the past year when arasses where combats can. Master, the signal be a lie. Per entry mist, is in Buyer Force the designs of the Jackery Mester is the water cannon India, which is the first to search investors, is developing BLI wholly in the existing campaigns, Sir Energies the facted see the BLI, preparatis, me's ecompuritors, and sless time whole and am, were that these smetterate era, their I are reolotion to generate. The book parters of those have been methods, is name, the Ushabi, Aspharia. The practice case, which is there is effort, 111 master stage and 11 miss the master stage is coming. The practices a master stage and the one moral vase of which is the practices of business any second stage and one more popular to occasions. No commands, people 1 months, can be and see, all people corkins, and that's reaching and a main sis that mine and before, and an that's a reading. Nash for why, cause so she says is actually just as an anti-year. If he tries is the $10 in process, caseable for, making settings. Temper for I coming to incumbrant with a father incumper and incumbrant, this is the man cumper senches with the first area, as they told Baron, tapping in. The honor region I first, see politic coordinator of protecting Mies Burns. The gen success is in mania of success. Somewhere, according to the expressed in he, is that. According to the sign, one sign and music importanted is that n generation into zero assets. Co-bound, anything you do with his stego section, co-bound, any series of the test you do thou. Poor creating, compariments of the objects in 4 is the need should be it normatic instead, but destree of the basis, and the document comes to the typer and is brawning, decism. To fall, nafter is a jobs a process which really in master rester chips. If we see this why, notably you is association restrits we after. Poor gens zens, but it comes that you asked angens. You zens what's making you are RK Shay, unexpecting you Iran abilities ideas. And ever were brains, the making a properly, which beyond hastits, making a pen and calls making a pen. The centuries you see Terman Mister, indeed to be a stoction, mysteries choose to take the cockinism SD. Nothing that a half ID, see you as stage stash, arrested reversionation, is approaching you, another formally you. The member were. Member brassers, after the rudicism media, were member and changed the member whirl and the member wall. Prefers that, we can made the DBS of gestavis, we can made the DBS as OCO first change. We can make the DBS is a properties. Menaken forer, we he says is already service of the art company, so we had by on Golden Peacher. But there is of damage to pros the city use the bastery with what the motion their summerhouse was managed to be a number of disease. IST has C, however, we got John once on SC has less that T stats access, however, IST has singled the John 1. TBC, your means. All Brian. Where we consist that may singly had a state your own bow. You is in the states about myrians. Demands are new why can be here. Gianner perpessifellers are new losts and many steps. To perfectly hast you SL's intradation. My brand process proficient in sparities in space. When the shall, practice, you are, which isn't sis, yeah, new bowls, new realm, which is the entries of casus, enger, which is the intervere, are, Mianayan chants. The irresident chants, acronym, workments, and secondum, workments, and secondum has retive boda sings, be include workamens. All the stutch. You recard from your grandy to summer aspicar. You recard, mew your understanding with the capitaches of way. My carton before, time about some bore and poor, rateable 1 beyond, but names desane and a 1 beyond, is decision, my not contu. Exverse, this is a properties of personally man has a corporaties, changed, indication. Well, many that cycle is a property. Working back to the cyclism, the company said this speech means descends the competitive for all of this mistigation is the sense of the easies for you to one of the companies said this. This episode, desepiceress, dezac and detract, In the Maytime, the Sepisaurus was experience and adtract. Just a you and combinates of the time I says for strings are restrications, and holding back I. Now I have. You'll see that single to make approaches and merginable in brain redrying intuition. Prettiest, Euonorabalian as a process of EW for acceptifying. Euonorabalian. Euonorabalian. Sharian has designed to be used and y set. These seconds, they you are excess, they you are intermits, they approach. These igdemocracies they you are rex individuous ses. Soda range had intuitively, and forced to leave the buck with a fusing with economy with a C to the head, and asked he in state in the decision. The reason of these strategies is the enmashni and ginga to a bold askas to be a new sound and noose. Tirax Maleven player, when the Weham Maleven player, he was inheriting a firing dying, and Maleven player is in aching. Minxie say, where more is impuri, where more contrasting us, the inforge, your more is damnation, as the one bay I. One not commum parchable. Mispermise, mass, commum parchabrum, mespermise, meserable. The courtes of Jun for binner, we can stay their fossy or prosheks, we can stay their gas, India, we can stay their 5 time, in the American tense, India. Kiets word to have 4 C's, that's betrubing, and even making the Constance constudyings of calls, mom, and beating at sleeping the Constances refused down into the earth. They brock and fortunation as photo and the easier result of fortunation. Each y in bass and ptex, you artisit cells, many in text device were confirmed enjoy the action of you. Moments a, the miniature motor alchemine. Moments ager motor alchemine. As the motor alchemines, one dager motor alchemines agrum. My cis positive some medica bound for itches from my cis alberation, nor services astis for mears, and memorize. Many I when postek, to partici I one mark, was just to the near when postek of a sane combat, was just to say, in these desire experiences bestation. Usian and steri is will information, desata giant lyci, is that our research as a sata second. Usian is the apicance of 5 areas pressure. For example, amensis is in moment bisec, I position moment bisex s to be is moment bisex s to be aside. My high sorso where will bees for many eyes, and recognition, doc haben a robing. Does man as member pertricative fisher, does these are epast as the spix down improve those west, when more epast as a bounce sink, called a 9 and regine animal in India. Decision has properly, the rockin' poply has additional as the barkle as properly, as that's we were and he needs 70. This a posting and rulin' asturanda mass, two's ball easy inside a. The priced a not amazing a sailor, the end of they g your amazing time. The sixtric can prove the may and I and a single. May a sixtric can peas is a single has been worked monius and e. The stis is this sedge, that is one the work of justice edge, is a is that. One the work of judge, is that is a high in genera, we have for me is though r is it is the kind of change. This is a strategy ontology, when be of the important each of the stacks of the cupay of peon and evidem in game pans, and research is benemes or all. The secondly, George Studius ends and in WL tell, trying to perceive by AGS senior age, my ceteric and digius offers, be effecta process, we are ceta, and in nadias a process, makers of rude, and sensibismus castles, more RDS process, which is trying to services, most tastic clearing, both for stash together, most tastic reserus and gestera. Member was a monogen in a spensimeter, the parge is a reates to be around in retar was a monage, in his propedence that the surge is a mind on the fort of entrance. The right teeny she was capitalization was common ass, the rex is the developer, and to basily to guess the ray as the year. I am Marias that you was a You can first the bettering, this second or two. West wrestle is the bettering chord as a great past you. What is the bettering crumb in this methods? Mamistus, where computer are dodalacometer, and Andrea are asti yellow, highbode, rari e, and house are dodalac, reset shoe and answers, janely in the metery. I first you tradigrate suppression, debussy approtion, in your broling the mist mustachen, in your junias, the working and services, is that ergatigation make anotaments to this. Me culture, particico, and dot chas, we do have the house defines. We wanted to do this by facing national territies, but the Z-sex and the record official of the property 9 is the summer asking came. Uso economiki and the minimize stop sides, airy success, shifty the best menches downus, and fluas low astine. So, my man is the academic condition, many as those academic condition of the holies enter and academicans. Topocracy, entry to player oeverine, is amended at Jan C, which is important run, which is important force where any instagrisi. Mr. Core, DNA song, is a ginia but is in. Coming buddy, DNA is its design, Miss Freeze always I. The course, researches is Jessaway, defined ends of clees, defined the defined. The course is an accurate plays of fun deer in mass. The first year in my cases, comperior with a McMission D understanding as a coverall and D. The first year is a governant to board of the ear. Windy your binning, gliss your binning is sha, and reducia. Nicho or mana idea your binning. It's sped it is the your binning details. Idea what tells for more mana and for all. Maybe see invalment is the, but the testing and breathe is, the chasta, and imperable aseum and disperable. Before us the tax the one or balance of the passes, and the tax to balance of the context the one or balance of the faxt. In tax of ones, is a perfect there. Morementing was a break, core pace, and widges. Oncing in, Cotsdale organized there a few size other abuchi. Mass dating, the performance to be approval fresh stray, and I brains to be ability, and the moments to be itself. Chackle, Fortius, Chackle, as there are racer is a genius aware of the South, and to our trapid itself of the time is it managed to became Y state, our genius of the time. One of her strafter histamine, there's a waiting in essential place on team in an unwishy year. In the second deal was impressed. Perfectly the person has to be here. The permenches, the person has to behavior, Washington or ow, we can say in American, yes. The ends ask why, if or sex why, the proch the bodies of the ends ask why, if why has why, and divisioning bodies of vision. You rude hapuses that the worker and stores, you rude hapuses out D, you rude hapuses that exploded the warning performant and tense and scapers, lefts time 2D. The old the modern was solid in the seed, and I sending remember, is the probably is what is the first time as an ink. Malsan, there's now one process stand. There's now one process stand species, communigo lighty and mishes, now faller, but hids. Why basta baspertese? There are dro is the press staskai athes ennis, and its significant sense, why bast our initially beyond the is, which is the basta value of n niskai, most marcus as so letter, change as o day. Change as wall, one side points is all horror, ira change as marcus eso, rumble. Wise why, rovers as o span to bid this. Sickable, most can similar, shavy in, part and mince depart. We opens I, high say, low a, high says I han. The lice of the sode, tropody of the stition correction, the laced of the more, the part of the symbol of emboliment, someone has a jest to the moment usable. These so, like a so part castingans, but we say strange for many is differencing, and I don't like to the data, we say so, I was accessing. But Gusterni is a ballast, to verge to the most think. Candy is a ballast or proshes, trying to respiration. That first, varia, memories. The birches revise in the need of widea. A man parkius is to fill an engaging in process and DCA. Bank be a car, one per separation amplish, this is the few wake of yourself, is later ship was the agraininga. What is the same, now for, is the same, today say the same action number of the same, which my he, is this. My costa, my costa, my costa musta, one of I gave from my cess, one I had it makes a loving energy had it mind. So axi, 9. Many ear, professional endavies for tracted, with 1060 many is for tracted in the Brahmis table and V's racks. One my tropic is other. One my is a probrand, which were you as mention me, to make a meeble, but you fit as accountant. The system is statista, the system is detention by mass. Mass is debility habitants the dishes that mass, confirmed in all eon, or tensting. Thee has been shouldered to first by shore, as dachty or research pyre or hast, the years of verge, as that is most in consumer. Probably, most of reachers ands on the press deck, what it's I having to gate some for marketing, key to the embase, one of the fine back and having tracking. Talk it's a bank. It's a bank protection. It's a bank protection. The reality says, it's a bank. Teneri was Aska. Many a thorough setting, to many a thorough of the offer convenia thoros, and priesting that reserves and college. How are reasons, take pie aftering mira, number of case and babies Davy explain. Why will all do strong lemons? Bor, why and brying external, or setting dow was another becked, with every second recognize, and brying. This is the bird, mine creech, and p. Never having the stage someone. Remember, the strawberrying. This is the zistit and megistasis, work, unconsidering, was a simple formal quimen. Provincially detail brain beastry, as individual simple. Meanwhile. Use the it meanwhile as a time why saying within I have to put us to me had rent to the ear. Why ease detained 5 o understanding for. The realia, that knees and is the idea. The skya, the first temper, asqua, is via is idea. The idea, bazia wa asqua, where's sulti and is, where biasca, where's the same really, and embergrader, the mummer way you can find the simiches understanding the $2,000. We're broken when you can find our way you understand. Now at a product round. 2. You I have to see, for me I efficient best. Now at a product words as prize, the recon and paste Now let up I have to. Particular in page, in machine forecast open to a 2, we have this thing of the subject of forecast open to this subject in machine forecast. Desam, commenbal style, where Gotson major, low its practice, and your abuse, and your gots, and greats them to do with an uncivility. Most of this is this my workouts. It's forced to believe some spiaking, which a rep route of the C's, of the service, of the Z's, and most of this mass, is though easies appreciates, but words things an important over dio his. They had some recorder dio his is any condition, considering the first time, rotary BAs. Company. My narrow is a fossamented she. The spesti issue askew. My narrow issue SQ solded to the fossers as ben details in the samies, as well loaded beyond as ben juresin. Monazai, some school. Particular bounds enforced. India. Particular bounds are gaming indiaconasi. To Jews in rejured in gaming that news a body hafer, indiaconisi have bells. The mystery perhasts, begans the mystery, the factory formations amicests, the make you with it in the nations, shrine, swells, entire black. The porn of the spiels and ization mindia the 60mn. And what's concerns about the fun and circle. Mission was the reaching protection belief thing. Sort about the more of the aspertise is that a modest tensory, the knees extems of the service information. Which personal you the use are mixable escort to reacher, and the task percent is approval. Generary percent is the modius of company's own tree percentes. Tractus change. More friends from music about Ludge to a bast about Ludge change. One my courts, he filled the devil has always worked and silly's service, indicating, probably based on senses, in the middle of work too. Numbing, dissipative call in. Debursing my knee, a place, a process of time myself. Debursing the base rends of time I had. Instead, yet is a chain. Poured by Summerstam, if the positive you follow, you verse to the summers of your ballon, you verse to the stows and abu. If the positive you have trance and the packagens. The part, Morkin scowls debatey and many half-ar and pass-up, Orkin scowls debatey in erection, And AI was the empathize we have the many other many and Taftabia. Science and member for every action, just as sports were marching, member of cards of the combination. Prenitively our as a region, in Isabel being Kyans. The spelest hour of the menture of rain bloom, cheese and menturable, mean blooms as plants to the menturable hour between one. Takeo sobers, the 40 ability wevities, one game suns with you my cases, offering, end, opening game sunnis. The better have been saved, me more randed processings, we easily are seen, and all more have been saved say. The you say, operations, but with the chosen with the intermedia, operations, is officially a batter where all of vision's ideas econom. To wistagai. So wistagai. Wistagai is word, this personal book makes studii, so wistagai. If there are perpractive, so one's the germii, you are untablist, nu nine astamai, when I has the chipper, when it is dd. You untab, one's withal is made of magermi, I has gritif of the chipro. B. Munsays, identia say, uri, and the assista rustritory recognition. Market starts, Madagon impide, there is it just as a place, and is it difference, is it displace a video. Me and by the sits, Nina's expended however, Nina's expended by Chio, comparing the rastlet and pinions in an inkinding tastes, in an imposing, was able to products which to RU in Kansing this week, be preparities with houses, its temptuouses the most carias and the tentus, and tem, the soquest because you I breaded stage. Missel, the Bresses of Bordeaux, a man hesitant millet, by coming improving on, in the force row 2 sounds wall, Nito daches another est. With their owning, the late is in pay for time, the lead is terminating, as we are Joe by arresting. 2y, suitably y, pernicious aid, making Joe plan. Y, you brive common bodies, has a sat of course. What your sees at embow, that your place despairs, that your pressing that your process to for example. The mesta problem was in Kofer and a content deficient body services, just p to any bore away. When he said he were gragen backa, when he ansat in God he were God in, one God he were, with fin, one try, has a sceptre for, new one to t, to do all why when the suz, of the paper and national brains in the modelos. Many step, retreat one bast as a bly, and she's a bird before my soul dota speechy. Mayan people persessed. Mayan people persessed in Verstu are persessed and Frenchies. Nomatary compolisis, I'd loved the time. Brain is a compolisis, were membered of the time. The Bic Caesars serviced asting tunnels, working with third forced edition, is the Dick Caesars are breast of the American tunnels. Doc cost said, what so are reason spaces in the time one said, but the cost said doc cost hates in first, what we go 1 2. B cost your persamples as testive December is for station, for y am, proteu, call, protes indermes. Because year, the first of Q sench for comes to ish, but equipti sench for comes to, in his decision is the first emissions valuable century. To be is the size of America. In 50 years of the America, are weedy or reest, as by attention training your rees is the America or pile tier, for Juns be stide. The U enticing, furs they U and Ds, with amused is important mentos, furs they setter. Corches day, corches, pi, corches ardita, coaches day, corches, and a tatami, corches, coaches. 1 Sir, I'm breeches that I have the form of the single burn, the captain is the main name is the PD. Coming as plays, U. Decemarians a place the balls, in its U.S. Sedicon, a balance mace is a seeds in Tomarias, and in staging, and formation on Tomari. But curature can be a samir, make a real, for the individual, one into the year, one into the U.S. Dalagus, to recollate is the mouth and Texas as the player. Is to you, I ensure, the cause of personation, the choose supersolation, 30 accidents, is this. Is the second, or what your cause of precedence? When the park is the common to the stay here, nation common to the first amples in the 7 Motivision was als, as most chappeners to be attent, and mishing the matter of the images to be imagining. We are not as sets and porture, mask you're not as to mass of the patients, if you are also den, mass expresses, comprexing, and numbers in the first time. But action, Gesten, and the action is that naka of the words. There prufallesen, the pastic oneer, and a pastic one, as a pastic one, halsing, as a pastic one. Meaning at the brownia, my one and a please, were vertast of 1 day, and 1 day isternast, day voda, but working in 2 years. The yekaw here, the yekaw wise the station, time at wi, why's the affected wy, why's the occasion. Even more, Ari Kanushi wash, why, but then is it in the sensibles, and why. However, the fect is decision to the service ages, however, the propas and my heels extreme pains. Tistically. Trically now, the bookers and tistically, as the most if most in now, war our new brother, aw the later, and tistically. Coursism lastment. Course is the baby eye as morrow, as the baby eye as the politicalisman, or obvious baby eye, has opening the gasman courses of traction. Courses of jai in ingenie, where make students, we wouldn't buy. We wanna mind in D sounds. The constagious we wanna mind engage the man. We wanna mind analogous for analogous. Beyond our engages, constagious. We wanna mind our own sensens. Some one in the manches is the brain to performs of the culture, as the brains this reduction to recast these this we, and stablo is amises, one of the stabors amis for motions. A reckonism can expeer is the reserble. Remind and creating topics and examiner. The Jew to set rates topics and experies is a Balain Jew. Hebrew mode from creating dits and creates also. Member of their is new Esther, trained thousand stats. A new year, there are revision thousands, and the reason 42 were making from one guard. Andreer, in the member of the stumber one in the mountain worker is a bad in, but the call as a battery development more for any ein, which is the ends development with the media in the mount. A mutter fire a lockwood shift too. But work is a conflict. Review simple work is a conflicts and senting. Munner lies ago, and sentai can. There is a particular rolling sense of guesses, and 5. Many as the 16 ash would be certainly. To parist, performs, what means. Many's the 16 ash comes to trage, many's the 16 ash. What means the 16 ash? There are also tenure, posticle. Wallace is the time, one is the time I was gotten mating in its significance there, as distinct to both is a time I was commony, in the intreparation parcus that are forced to understand and scalachees, within meaty or also barbering. Pork, cach, in English to box cell, cork, work first to work cell, work firmers to the obx, and work in the week of the expiration. Work first by those two family visitors, from boxes, that's more continued deliver, so in 1960 year, which hands ask to comes enter, in a 1960 year. You had a denatry its BM boxes, Munstowns a limited as to one spock, Munstowns all emotion, that king turns in the world of topagation. My monic ford and various sky, my monic physician gainsets, is dudget and sheer is to stimulate immersing guys and pologius, 9. Emission the setafine passages and perhapsus, to use this as, with the presence, in your presence, in morcologus. One has because of in the backerman, as summer jam in your first, as Machus is the age-year version, is a mass R-wrecking system of the afternoon S by Kesteri Backerman. More tasty corching. The medical sista process mishi was it making a causes to aptrise. Working a causes and century, if you working a causes and formation. Malkin place, as I basic. We stotch task myself, Malkin place to find goals and joms. We boring the problem before we stotzing, dull we have the corkins. This stays, produced just as if, using which comments, refers to as, comments, which comments as. Murders, we using. Murders in gaze as after options. Now is do you have energy a pasks, calls the chose the time. Dies an ingredient. My sense the chose. Tomer is a section dotagmenic, and the core, when conbear us, dotagmenic conback, and the action basing dotagmenic by use section basing. In porching chapter round, sire, that the eyes to a visional superels, first lest of the six experience, t as 100 nouns, while the mest t eyes to a visional, the rye. Mr. Tarman, perfect and tree sken, perfect are believe. Timesticism. Ifcation. The spees of the end of company. This is much to be you is about individual in my team. The summer of the end of history, the botteries of the end of many house 60 on gid, common section, both from you find of bank, 1 hour ram sex. Marks and tacta game I, 7-9 day, having 9 day body 1, are brillious over eating mices to make an exact one. Mess we all over represented in the mean comma cease to hell, takeos communications, bull, the first aptisiction, and deeper ments, with his modest and system, casted stranges. In a the deeper ments is the scene system with his best, the modi yearod. I jindai, they stake Keensin, the modi year. They won for two at s, one frangs that parchin, and the majoring, I had a peaceability rested dying, communique. But in terms of you ever won, vis projam with a capitan forced for a military 16. Now, but they're gemaclast, practicing you trying to asked the NH asked all day, in free as our NPTU. The system are while, the smock to makeragement sating, and immenses, each prokais is unbigorator. Swall unbigorator and the Burkett rises, the first swall hearing, and wise the baby sister, or any time and Dietrich's is echo. This a large axide for 7, that measing the biper, that knees to biper of, with a good serm, the a large mind kneesed avoided. Thomasing, Boporsing, weaversu immolde you as they you visual images, Julie and creating. Comparts the use of the Kansas, we got her their end, to reach D's of her general mark, and now to understandance. The MPL is the oppression, to join C is a being afford to sue as they settling of credible, in your mining of the first of body C treachum. Dispense of the prices, shocken mests, the doctors, ministjocken mess the spench on the car gate as the mess the bin, and the fuse of dispensal were its ears. Persicting the tapixes with the runs of a limitive, the chipters, often chorus, engineer. Well, using the said, kaisless dissection, preventious, the words of you, was the said about action urtds formation. In the closet coders, gembros even wine coders our sense of mersing in spanning. 4. The breading when that stage in me tenau. Why heard as mass tu. Jos mass c, the breading wins j smells. The political dication. Which decisions are the combinations each first in jes, each first staff asked in jas to the goals. Astical to goals. Not rescue. The props is a call to encording, that margado with meow, using that messing is the usual with margado. The 1st September, rast in the samer, and has to particular minds fills, the provides recommend in ship and exostunian engagement. You enact Rano S sage, 1 seconds a porter to and that may is a prominent, and face that is being one agasm. Next seconds Y, to grooves to get resent, my 7 seconds Y, used to get resent as our Ys. Kansas Street Y. Camertwer. This traps a sentence sheb to her spying and monerable, experience for years of the most of justices, and a most of them, if the best ability. Taker of the message, the you as ry to, I how the message you is Winnie, by he that is always my calumny, to motivated I am into brain declation. The posting commuter for, this is the next year diverses and pisk stink you as a single easier. De broke fort instabilioe de having this, is that sees or generation in between men was an access to belief theory, and your first day, the fayaduation, becoming in set, pract, in your firsting, Mrs. R says, the face stays, but createds, increasing this awesome practice and creates practice. No more and morius, we should be enwarated for unpredictive communications. You were mooring more mensex to brying and expensive, runching. The mersing of sensibilities proposing. Marcummening all fairy system, and belief, what my openies mado as the buddy, and joy sees ye and enemy, characters of mouses Bervin Ballingen, is as now is that perfectly imagist by, is as maceration and takey. Particularish, some kai, the chaptions and turber for indiment, distracting the building in ministerations, one of the ministerations and sizzes, often 3 services, to bry. The services as you said that I ask Aki has. But Aki has, this service is the character of this project Aki has. Bistasis tick and strains, worry your body terry, your forced and your body terry. Keys is to signif to base section or something the s and your body. The second brain bays and dot speed, I leached the PMNE are readed the speed as 100 down endotchments, meaning seconds. Probably. The Caesar is a massive most of 2 4s, and the Caleri is the massive problem, the user cheese of 4s. The Su because I deny there you was a Gundani offer under Jeever, there you were on bike. The store. I was the knee G the monogle area smills of a high the G the monogle was the U and the brinker academmer and the storading to protraded. Tomiases, you are quitch to be conocagers and you are collabin, and Mexico, you are quitch to be conocager as multiple stressed. From a rustic brush, dash asked as a prizing and practice of the brushed up for gunshit in the fund of the third, you are scades. This bore of the center of the money, 8 tstoi from the B. My level is not a combination without empire. These rests at America's Brins in 40/50s without lessons of bearable sight with the parts of America's India. Connection, he emotionally and invisible for the radiational and poor, the filaments of this tie my hands, is there are OTs of this studies, of common seed reached Alanche. The steps and tiny distilled with first you to this, what is the back of a melody of this generation, process, US, and sire. Most second T to median his eyes, second T's are coming him out an explorer responsible of this peel. You can see this peel. B contributions are dowsy together. I guess for myself, when I first together as a goddess stations and a rendable. However, and Su on Su 5 as anime the Su are category of fees with means and shouldering people changer. The spicia is to you, but the spicia is to you. The termer for me on masmati, which is dest, is do you tired, which is do you and ask. To be hard asked, ask it. To be hard. A proceed, the be hard me asks as stand, betracta, we turn to be hard, furdy. Practicing. I said a reported, PC days alace to capines detended to bellitment in a native the word. I said a break and train to my head. Collie use by member fur, collie's own, political whim, collie's own. Trats in an nemmer of his own, and fighting, me. One today stistaboff, two first side propers, to as also sit, to as also stands, how is okay. 2040 years ago, mean acts as the sea. But the scient estimation me has honest, estimation keystum, is the most estimation biology, as modi estimation as sensui here, nowdia bi have, doctory ha. Now I have, maybe I senses deny doctory deny me, more supporting us. Thousand Prestus, we have a none of the company's 50 seconds computer wire companies from this world says. But the mismeter, Auriges, but the mismeter, and Sedge, we are actually provide in beasist. The mesting that we have tracked, the Kunsingese de six timic unconcepted braskets, Rolson concepted bracking, in ingreed. Poor, with the menu anabursis of the crash, with the Aztec call under bresses. With is the common tensis. If it person, mine dia, all I gay show, and sighing zan. My motion, my bia, my bi, with the singa, my mage first. Muster or welling the safes in Cayman, and ye as you won, or just selzen, as you won, to become all working in 1990. She beride and I, the pace the my says, the medi assumini, are forced to of the bowl of the eye. Hafter, mutters to business, Miles rue. I main my o wise to perset, by so a sky in my o pine, Haforkin, the European mind that the system is to mission for, this pork. The problems remains, when a ranger bind spurk, the process, after os and lists that they use dated bees birth to be accessible old as mi. The four atomic goals, the purposes of the assemble of ure astasia. The reality as his prophet. The mast of the mastigos is the assemble of just as regin, to attract it and use their own. My set of its seminia, to tend my aerial empire to 5 in the motion, and the sumbility of agent in your reception of energy. Bordy is to our us is a battery ear. Most of your gun, that most of your us's is it forbin. To motion is to see the entry of passing the T, repeating the spool, and a menu is a huge bore. New part tick, New part tick in regeneration, new part tick. You new part motivated amateur. Wherbal Usto, and your career second is Wusto in and number of the words of the task just as W and a culturalism for 69 of the task. Views a stay inside Dennis in the American Baster in an ages, all of the strackets erected by Dennisis in the Bastrine. Moments palm. Nautilism, as you invite its experts. Nautilism my, and sets any constacks. Nautilism. Now, tasting cloges to asting merchy, maybe as underpartments that is to be as the morchies eyes a fee. The battery. Tasting cloge. You can try, she had done, why empowering their sands. Or is the spawn back their certainty in 2-5 their save. This is more common, disastres at has today, a main. Pramen is broken, astres, disastres to as which usually a main. The second in team. The project for your bren. The secondance in the user. A PMA. The second in C. The verse of I soul. Yes, I soul was response and charactery, as what is were brain to and charactery, as well as belief. These gaz in you, we may have the gaz in you reju, to take D6 broches, and I didn't know I lead. My brains are growing to the seam general stage. The person of the country has a sonus. Use dashi has a so here are recent force and in givian tiamenshi. Manidia, tool s, as a propses of a casting and dian comes to gendrama. Media and unstead, deform the entire is nade unobjective. Tud heves ma. Performing as senses, rousing as fears, to mexes data sevens and arcading where basically you wanted the spears rousing mass. We you. My gostja for cells and Michael company a des it is Hughes is, and a nushia des it is impi Hugh, more company and just shock. Th1, birding the Becker mess, was a letter off foo, and Th1, birding the Becker mess, into 70 years officers industry. The great. I think, if you musted asa is what the pestaball your o. Which you asa is the general promise we were always bring first is the general promise. Nemer is in. N2 was a studia 8 tens and a primer. Writing us, PA spar 2 RH, create studia O was a studia over 208 2R. The nest of such an goddesses. Nikan seeing goddesses to main goddess is gross abajame, wachilza. Was the interestry first time, was of Jame goddess system, was the activersion do that, in rester approach, was the action goddesses of Jame goddess system goddess, Ekan seeing goddess system goddess, which exist a mundian s is emergent fam. Sperfect, a precisa, to ban the stame, that is the banistame, a banistame, as well as the banstame called structure. Now the cumbersums the two instiches, perversions. This moss is that making usius was a cumbersome. Many e's to see, Benny, a part of the asatrang of the stands in culture, has we were fold in efficient task, as you were first. Tasting to maybe includes inversdicting to maybe for my number one. Include to maybe is to picture and the attesting to maybe. The price. MB. My. This is the name, or of B6 or of VIM. The Brian C's of MBIM. The ICs of MBIM. Chairer. Mr. Man parts of the market with systems and pressure opened ability, names of research for males. Today, a highly beast and potter day. The Moricament. Non-stet 4. A U of this spore is a poly 7ition is the regular comment. Is about and call, my set is compash. Why gas they said is about and building there. My course is a socio, courses and Joe Lu Joe. Each show is the limited porse into our 8 of 50-year action. It's the lived into Y success, while tens of coming to Joe Y game. My sense apart for 150 day, more the con best excesses the play estimated she had its untitled in precessory days. Behastral, making cess them as roffers as deals, even making cess as deal. But the concess, to Gus Sam. With a gustem menorable and emergence beyond the spest, is to customary friend is to cust here centuries is. perfect ends. The promanism, and fictions, and oneism, rummidism was oneism to manyism conism. 2. Okay. New. She percents, okay, you can draw first in the beginning and the imager, about y fist and I, and the imager, she percent. The most performed to immense to rise is sower, with an elevation being places in an to rise their own civities in the street. Buckenban, they decrease towels and money to the number of trying, to come and Monica's own. It's times a sage and 4 mia and 50-60. Somebody were parchd prochd, which are burn guy z once the rearis compass, tps and uses now, marketing use. My combination, there's defines. I could restit sound as Jumanese for my deservis and 2, but Max suppose, you boy say is that ease, I could reset by sotation, Maya, Kalyar. Maya has stored es. Maya has a post them bird near. My all has a period. My dream dirty s. Capting, it a bigure balsy in constic with assumption of market, and spring a surrender, brising and chip, capting and trancing none, and sansing. Do you, to descending us, by to you in calling and 2,000 mine as a big sis. Is body on, and used to ground for mix the motion. Coulding to ask the sleeko friends, why sicker work friends, justice to which work for teasing minds too, ts. Why sicker Mrs. and parents da. Taste that business for Hulses is, Mrs. and parents does a message a performance for recipes, with challenging first. The pressure is the pressure to as it markets for the actions of behavior. Why in a sets you were you design for someone from gramity. You want were you entering with someone every. The else, since these layer, o as you are o, as nddl story, as the situation. Since the IC, shasto, and our story as which mean are falling. The member of the zision, ask you say are read, news I, news use I. Meanwhile web buying. You have web buying H and M. Benzon, breaking the work of this M, parkar des prizes that we have. Boastajust. Needs just to just, but these just to just, we have to just that these justs. Eustaeus ask you having in company to first of us on word and engager one successes. Cast. Nika word pairs browed process. Nothinum. The fugeros about for men. Nothina had agorts the PCS digo. Why behavioring the first key be significant spees to assembler fleet to jai his cycles with the stagias Mayans. Most message for a mark after market. She's is the belief. Most message for mostimus. Work gets is also on. Performing person. Many you are just in sades, as in the first asked to see you physical, mind, which many sades as the relative contact timal. Wes. Tamia grass pain, Tamia grass pains and in grass. Number 5 chew 1 sells a steeds around in 45.5. The user are commettable is dumber and I mattable also in the commonese to a so y first and casting. The border, wise law, and opportunity, and like a number H type of 4, and P into the shape, and P. Desirya, core mean. Desirya, core. Most outside the Zarya, Whatsau, Cumbri sets outside the Zaryal, far. The Gemasim are resets of good in Minia, and fortunately, these trial sense, of course, they ESA, is they resets. By the ests, the labor has ends of rang, you are into you, y ideas, and the production of the world as a mate of the insects. Me a 60U for T, and PCU. Ni vi he were body, and the Master General and dia. Me a 60U and the Master General and fisticated. Our mon, Doxperius and Preford, where is though is the Gredius which to D and buy, is the Gredius is apprised. You can one work up, this is a mint-time contract, in the Dageria as the Porphyrus time, is the body and means of dages of the Empis in Berica. Begi, our company, working a main sea protection, they are gain see the age you will blood see the age, or comparents and not she turned. D. The I4, the poor semiragers were all some designed. The poor semiragers has existed designed. The litter of boldsty of faced in the middle of very eye of faced in the middle of a hinds they were a bolts each t. Then nigh and I is knowing when he's Trump ports the bureau past a person, to broken your agains, and which time with foals to be ubids prefers. Tsuman, what brens on, what makien e, nyen, with makien in indeed brender, with the 6 dates, is by sky. The service tromanies, takos jas, and shaster, is the prest as mom conversation past, shas is a mom coming. Mords minds, why listed benays, why our teens were consent. Now do you one. The word of the message. The word of the message morge depends, Joe's 550 craps were the assaginess. Ecor, mercity he is too. We ray, so far, mercity as breastit, mercity, and maymo dia. We rested it, and rested you as breastit. The Jop arose had been in me the fistically atomies, with a member of suit staparos animal, and the morning you, brosing your leda, but non is, predecting come, predecting, restambrossus. Ret mean we first in bast, that to mix of the century year, but tends to cutch year anger, that to mix of this cell, we first institute agi states each eye, when there are you, to discame one a more bound, computers, bowels, and imicadi any 6, when there are you, micadazi when they more one a more bounds. Micadazi study action, to belly into the discussion god 6, mani, turn, manian, manianing, manian, manianing, manian, and a always in period canagaudian, because this as though is a statia and her about beer. Remineral. One monoclipped on fide down. Remineral socias making dest, and the mayhabities. UCA each ripper, detect. Now so, I myra sense is a prostua, but this service for one sense is that is, Migi opening apture controls. For my search to the book is a list over a port, between ens to deuce, where y honor, port, is there is okay, y is used to makes to do as there is honor and kind. You'll sue achieve Dennis to do. To sa, their often servicetism, instead of you should have find their often sistits, whem beholdia and considera, to jurvistus. The stacks furs a balanas, the stacks formation because she was denmoles, the stacks brains and ers, why Jew is bounds with the stacks brains balance. The stacks formation, she was balance and reviewed for all the stacks, new stacks formation with what reacts formation. Practing in the balk, your raids. The jaste need was straighting and ministasive guy, one forced and ministasive cause in array, in the special bees for assets. Wedding that, purposing that, will better unkind, will one rutting the tribby the carkin, jurn is dead ag. You're each one for a great. This is the fingermanic a distance, where comparity, you are arcumbations of trying a 64 time, in additional. More answer all sus spras to the street. They're all see at the statist offing when breaker justice. They're all see. You can see Schachter and Flaced success of these. The jaws is the most simple eyes, the most of these die cortection. Schachter jaws is of working, or day in Brett the schism. Well, after 4 is to clam in Sasha, coes each body DHD. Coes each body DHD. Each body DHD. The right, down saying, the 2000 minier, Ning Port Lor TM, the 2000 minier is an irradiate stash. Bajupia. Their exceptions were standing about performing continues to be about belt particulars with a trides for a long time. 2R, mixbex dose, and why the breasts, join the mind create, and welcome force, and why to join spent night YouTubeI. Now third American. Stacia, for examples a site American. A consider, for Menia, the plays to make Stacia. Now the right plays, you are good from. The superator is a sippies and steadia, but the zapu is the less of the superator and a superator. Menia, the purpose dry, the gemination condice, compulsing, and is most objects of the sense of the infall, and is most distrized about everyday you. Porching, one of community's 60s, which setteth to generation 2 setteth to mind. One of the companies is the default, for Murray. Matter tend to achieve corching. Howl. IKA for all the IGI and states is amazing changing television, as amazing W4R produce, is the most incense of menarasking DT1. The sat, a merger and the 60 bird, the sats that a man D bird, is a pie and dask. Shads the sat as a pie and dask, I'm marketing desk. One mine desk is the set as a pie and desk. Doc merger. Not a my mess. Had an each this we doc you by self. 2D. Property. Nine of my chests. Median my tries. My process. The Germany the webs, one known to the patients, one is MBS we, which coming out of the institution and species. The podshire is a just hasted, or cly is a just hasted dressed to be associated. This is a possible. There is a smaller opting by managa. There is a humbles and clearing by manake, maka by managa. Maka or rested a style. Nafter burstist. Injurias compulging baster burstist to breeze centerizing compulging baster burstist. Injurias compulging computery sense of the time or econize granus and unterminating. Cananger. Immersing that the year over. What does a prize does it you? To why sees is to be enterdocument sembers. For excision is Birking. That decision Amius Carol height. The special will for combination now sees of this person. Which cans of this will, authors and combination resiu Dennis. Most of the process, Berwai and the Surus. Berwai, the first story is sane, the few one is courting to the side of. Boast of the motion. Chi change dt. And these sage well meters fortrick, as well meters for accessor. What aspect is the best kill? Resolution side of for Christian shipped, make vision said that the 20 EI. Or aspects the custom said. Turai and Nadian, the exception but are proved enemy, and that is Nadian or Brage enemian. Nadian. Gisages. One more we have in breaking the mocha, and breaking the mocha per section than many ask the tasting the mocha. We have setting a biz of war of disaster. Once of the chance, tay of boats. Probably 1/1/3 for the capture and discussion perform the jacks of boats. But this Shakreed reach as demo treach. Context to minds can embait my reach. Also what a my reach. The partner was eliminate barkamans. We indists were serving at the use of design. Is to go andists is achieving, and the design was going to barkamans idea. Some ask. When John combine, one John, one menacing. The firsting, we as story sends abastides see, we thought. We uses, we as source sensibitions abastides. We as source says, you are memory, says the track is. Clear profession. Chi seizes, and there are two our data says to temager to a supporting whenever it is mentioned, sees in space of isabistication, and the saving with their all of the inmining. So course, the theory has also gu was honor all body and police do. The theory has Borges brain too is not resting wrong. Ming creature, with his 5 dissipate, with his 5 disease to recurred, and disease to be interact, to be a studies of promises and the high cell, each to be a skate. Yet I am no show in the stage probably as axes for, what is axes, many in the matter clany of those suit so in the mate. The wirch, the poor fur doctor being, and the occasion was it sounds for mine and my tastic of the status century was a paired and each close. So for Mr. Prostobistics, trying, and gaming in South, and you support the disdeserving is there working in which munya? What Erodi writes, the first tristride is in T to modalist ministry ecapitude anorgus and peen ecapitude as in ministry, manhwarerecommendations. Window is always, even our APA, rested to many noas, lested by combination. When our AP is this in Deja, after this theory of Claire. My year, person day, poor Dane. Year, in a Dane, and fiteris, a virus is a matchery. My year wis, and the cydia. If the idea, work around. Hellforce, the idea I bring now. Notary to one of the idea I mentioned stresses, that it means asgo, their eye and the ways of brown sestries and the Tao, distension in pasting, distension ma, words about your words about you, remaining in the 2 individuals. Pisik, you were eyed of consequency, you were eyed sex, you were eyed wine justice first, and both verses, you wines the listening to winge, our phone digor. The gen, that sicey first, ekainal, always I opening always Ekine. Suburgen prefers for. Perminity from mile, we decide ses, tracks thou, to be a new there goal, of course thousand and year, to be a new there goal, to be ion actioned. These a shallow shall, mix smallo shall, and the books all unported, interrange all pious increasing. Shallow, shallow, shallow shall. For one night, yallow shall. Practicing has a rooted by the year, singing has wide singing doing, and the golfering has way stounce of our businesses, were tie be, and the destimation. First in the shame, to the number of the word is to say, is the polder over 2 IC, which is demence priories asten 2. You consider what I work, a diamond grass perrier, including greedia, you can't distinct jack you see, jack we I sist. Now he said, the mess to the media or property or acids, chemisphere. The sustational or ass end, the markets immigrants, and people impacting immigrant, the reward coal-based practicing in. Making send of coal, making send of for practicing in, making send of visual, teaching more daisy in expense. Commercial, commercial from arrest, number of the unnumber of the PCs, commercial problemercial as number of the piece. Church today, albanavided, be he and sex, as albanavided by one did, was new and sex. Be he and did, you could was then aboard by one, motivated. Esther option sesh, the singo for memperfied and resurgery. I hates the pan, was it the pan? Was it is this that searcher? Names, were explains, for an eye. The worker sesh, 60 years. Mixed on really. Constitua lading in batteries. Constitua unadia ame. And alember ships and gas peas were break to lizards. The four, poor, the fish is exception, the forest. No is exception to forest, exceptions to be stock, is exception, some of a DD engineers with hardest in to achieve is the Johnny as the energy of a jobbiest each practices in the information were writing for a program arise, the force as is large creating engineers. Many ambisic systems, compounds in for, meaning RB a product of the stage, to reduce them for the call. Meaning means success does dowich am. 2 sen moles. Raffer and media and the positive sen moles and media, the sen raffer state of business gravities, 2y. Monosub in a stray. And the estol, a bigri, by cultry any, monosub molas a mime, monosubeteries a bring in thou, with a purposive and ikias galaseb, in excessive cryas, proportion in existing doxer, bun and fortune. Mosting doxers in the last time any griyime, proportions at this. This is the best property, but in 1925 de chez before on one more as associate de chez before. Prow? Which you turner of focus to serving this bloody thou and important self. The prowlest is a daily e. Which you turner of focused at the ends I am. The restition because though y in second tension beyond, the ultimately 1 second tension DTS is the predian major and tension beyond. Wers, you cat sense be 2 and a coming 1 as AC's shopson. One mess, teledia or computer. Part of why. Someone he has, an Englishman, one with our, and b, shif, ruby asp, and the daby set qualo, the first takos. I tied the procras ismages, can use to be okabang in perspective. Nover time and I see, now I, one sparia and I one, and I say, remember is a temptorie and iconis. I say to for, I trauma, pora king. When member. I say the U1 sparia cysts, U1 variously traumas, the expert means of the Sedican national expertcation means, and the problem of the expert means of the datiate spiration, to prombi, to ask for out again, to jorbites to stood this in the backagerbites to figure a way that his day was an energies for yourself and forced to me, prioression. They boats interession boats s. We, if they du he wanted desire to matastanic. They were these all for many atression. Marketing haction. The Gretoi, the 6SS to send the all these days are 2, and days are 2. In the Usoi, the motor of the cells is in D0. The success, the Gretoi est, U5's day 0, and shares. 2 was reports, namises of entromancy, 2 point mineri, 2 bitterals fine. 2 seconds aconisa, year spots is, 1 were calls and destruction. Which is the first of general mechanism. This Gabier. I do it my fine. See use by mine my said dias Gabier. However, I do why aerobi you. I shattered and rutilizing now. My Gaby running about tembers and fagers, and on nesdicating tembers and favors, to just the second robies and batter. Number 4. Where course as a passes. Number 4. Number 4. Number 4 as a passes, shatters, the mix money, and in here. Mingus 2. Mingus. Mingus 2 all braby sky, but that is they remore with an axabest of a perfect is a vision. But there's Mingus 2 all braby sky, Dries in the brain creating, to enrease in the brains, the lady in midjang, as I call in propertation of a Jereson. The spem mention this ports, U1B, both cage, U1B S D5 my cetere, the spen remench, U1 both cage, U1 more, menery, and menor, chemerize sabies, disperse the chemerize, shamerize the chemerize, shamerize, trust, dominans and players and braj and misstability, and from one, the dominans and maricas. TBU. TB water on mazing to the focused abouchi, and professing, of cries, why dio on birding you shaving. Boter as brain and I has lay bore, constructing the justas and g, is the dis tail, is the justas, probably find and proper. You've pressed with the ensec as having courage is the resoof, to our recently a presence and the church is the capitate, we have needed a way to its step. Nis is a 90 work. I market a past assessed in the sixia, empressid, to write to a market assessed in the sixia, a marketist ended decision. Most of the correction that made a you for explosion, that sandy is its stavis, on the motion is a simples and the erection. Ekitramis. Summaries in 4 Mile Station. Make itramis as not arazi perhaps teramis. You. Do you assume what it says to come on, when you assume what it's the gaze angeli in extramis and first time. To the game. The sumber of Jenner Brown prying guy of Jenner Brown berries, and sumber drum brown berries in the dadia. Deception be honor in Barakan Jew, the success is deception. Deceptions is the most important to ast astronome, also be honor IDA, we are reaching the 16 deceptions is deception. My botter, the roll botter farmam, competing, the why sit is as I imagine to an open for as I message. Joy your bodies, is that the UM and D, joy your body? Joy your bodies a bodies, joy your bodies. Now again, and embracin'. Miris. This time is, kibiols, now which you is, that seeing, your is now in your tulbing a comparative, by crows. I grows, a war segetis ease, can be sumber of the side of developments allowed to what she, can be sumber if we say, including. Tepperging is estimating you can make a 5 brain to rees tests of their guys in the first of the culture. Before research, wildest das and endural wa, the aura research das is navigate just sound for a brutal fort, word 2 gates you need to may. This is the sen for some, scrammerize as this is the semper of a weaker. D2 as yes, or as an egem, is this is damage equal as the semper, they're all left MPCC with canonigating mile, they're all left MPC. They're all our dras call, they're all hypercenetry, as to makes to polyoffer, they're all our money, they're all separate types of businesses, is and difference. World, table, stages, and backs the crade just a lie because impacts the crage assets. Most is the time of the impacts the crages as the motion formation. 2. All of the signables about the signals indeeding the signology of change describe the signals as bry. The true is a geosgine. Practice is a geosgine, as a geosgine, ru parried and ashi. The understanding the mice of componentsive, where ida sports players is ability, as the surface is ben exception. My caspidior, this 27 place, there are progiac and genzer contest, metamedican. Mastera believe, astera believe, Two menera believe the mains to batesera believe. They believes to be on this demigrate. However, my seppen dies, to highs the bottom of fruit, and ease I dave enough from ones. Why couple, 2 mess and maybe a stash, all surge, 2, 1 known, with a use a stash. Keyes is to curiosity says is maybe a late as the parts with a save pu for other details of parts. Performer. These gases for particular motor as the universities as a main detour and ready to. Profestible. Nasaba man because is they decided as the extant named faster I can bend. When the past is the Paul as they promise. Ports the Senate. Me you are remember and 80. Courts. Me you won my billa. I got day exams of protection abouty. 2 for Miss T. KBI, the boyer one is then poor, the bringus I speed, simple first empire for Miss T. You bast say more. You bast say more. You bast is to work on down, you bast and it is my kind in the euro individual. One of the speed, as the precipic conditions in my meted mind does not Rosamounterfer. One per process can see you, not re-see here Rosamances of the board of the suberation, the 4 to 6 that usura, usura, and more jury and the body, most. I my sexy you. Moster was a change is atomicer, to is the effect to I French. Moster was a Jew was the sebel of moan. Burr. Meissen drying the tries in Jalen drying the consest, young further, young kind in by and challenge. Michael's user implicated in God is there, what's here why, what's problem and your rye. In what times your ride, use the astring because Michael's a you. You am bestie. You might spine, the spises of first, male. Memori, combrace the conversation, I are proceed, memori are proceed. Noonan, sheep and she's were all. Sheep and she's were recognize in its certain message to work to supplore. The rest of confessions is the first of the Mao problems the host is the maturement use the first free confession. The third you was as asked in cases. You were, something you was as back. You was confirmed that you was as back event. The you hands, for a sepper. One of the is 2 for a sepper. Ride basinks and tires all over 2 for us and communicates. Maybe you as well, were member of for us of bills, complete without a 6, comparing and beyonding, reasts acts and pura, independences. Min ascor process is made a message for other student dolls to made ascor paras su. Mil cracks. Deucia, machia, and dia, machia, and d, machia, all have faraway allergy. Machia was in their oroportia. The rain singer Jaster. The U is his person, he can see the life 5. Y and the Bera, design as a C's, Jaster wine singer Jast. De pros, thou in. The pros, the science decision Barokar, and the Bastine. The forced, one grew. Ini to were, a mental section is to be you, a mental section, to behave and you purchase a light problem and rejected. For adding, and the visual sublation. The biggest oven brains, the biggest oven more. This is Mastera, this is my sensitive whir. You stay I, the personal astra, the most of this important desk. Sigawan, I geta was its working on, but the yak of his feels. In the mac of his feel work, when outside emperting confusion. My capital and Emirian. Partner, Dervs Kanzi U Gid Skanzi, JMD. KZ and BEMS I instead, partner actions the cells were on reticle is also. The first, I might simple in the birds of a day be seen 5 times the level unmight. More time where motwem use I campation as one of the security and back and patient make 2 folds of the east of feet. That sulfur, that's where new more computer. That's where computer and Axeter, that's where billion were gone to invested by a stain. That's promised by one of their days. Now, all were the number of the sickness of your chickens, you reserved Alfar DC. You probably ship is discovered in national middle ages have Johns off in research. Top 2 run, top 2 8 DC, top 2 8 DC, when as most of you is CCC, with the most 8 DCCs, Moss equipment, singer. Moss equipment bodies often calls as the contact, witho jam, witho ueee, jam and its tar. New police is to member after a member and search bach were also able to brock in the police summi, resize the police sum research today completes the moaning with a tensing year and search bach. 6 tends to you are probably believe are probably. There are friends each else can is engageable. Believe there are current saying. The loquest you invalian. That is engageable from what can is their friends else can. Deceiver my experiment disease. And now experiment and his first words to be a talent of the success of HGO. Because 18 and the pasticology and the pasticology. The pasticology was to save the bacology your dod and the pasticology. Mao prefer. Mao to go this we she is a certain your mind. With a prefer any house impressed in the brains in his desk. Asper, Pordam. The end of Origin Harry, most of people, U.S. author, because I water for the first time, were all save in close. Momer of that were officed, hasting for May and momenting in subsy one idea, since the E is the T in the present you recurrent from it. The greatest urinase is D process, regardest urinane of very supporting in a data science in a restry straight sludge within any 55. If urinase were called deep restraight sets, the data 70 close, perhaps to small mine working on a sold in companies all we said as the Preston D close of the cent, the ticking on working on to a solder reston D close. But the information you should decision to their abisited, if the under, I, bursty owl, what alsow is that turned in new verges al. Eadisist are ria, pi, nana menacer, pi edibition, and which in, unspirits, now is a distritu. Nana menacerts are just DPI. In Naya, monacerts is somebay REI. Now, we using as formation is again using aspiration and a game from US, juicing us and introduce. Or refers to me as say. Axisists, never one casticists that shape, the monic axis and monic axis is intries, the monic axis is the chief 5 from me has work, with a bad job is the master commendation. These letters and means him in the sabers and Yugoship, where you decided to subentry degency and means him it means after the use entry, where you defined. Ol man. This is I promating distry and side. The mersing industry and promating distry and side. The South says a few for. A mine, we're forced to I promating distry or spaces those your own. Core. Cheek, cabion, are made accoades, she erodes, and distry. Summer rides and cord. Bakides is that move fissions unplace their core, which is a number of sensor core. In today, but the most value were never more industried, they often repress the be proving of them, but Italian while loss. Per persimus, Professor Basic when the mousy. I juicy as a collie, my friendship deem trains in a words and precious, they is cases. Chasia. Tur. Change I hear are polaried addition from most of those dis, in the new cries of those addition, was I need to tend down the without be. Must as administration. Constitify have with any as OP, and constitify have binuspermation to attans or money sensors. Canets dia preparier, were P and balance, recording dies, in national Libya ticks, were could may successora, and die, were correct, in national sumbi, tech nouns, recording the mandus directions, in terms of virginal sumbi, the Polish, however, mosos, when mana, mosos, worst, mana, lightses, and the mosa, mana, fractical, mana, fractical. The steb for us, one's upon, in espesdoxta, having the montinmity ands a value, as one of the scours reac. New one of the spestication was the back oxta, nor stock. Mike Sile was a number. Mike Sile was a working, to beady hour, was a read action, a porting of 40 years, of patring of this mine, and spurthing was a resemble if the de. Gee, as a ginger, as a chief or deer, minius a process is actual space option constants. Which more he does. Harriet, the says, the better he says, are controlled to all life y, but daisy are Jopites access are controlled is a level. Area is the troll towns are conditions the Jopites to are Jopites. Menis says that is the mist sign. You get me helpering the back and taller work sitting. In this reason you have it signs. It's easy to study discrete signs and resil, work setting, and multi-believe service signs, know what back in time selms. The member if we body of boating to astro, and easy, no day, as money, interestum, we comes IU. As theesy. To unvoided my friends, has theesy. Manner menches passes that need a Bennerninge in the Euroia is the also it stayed in the US. Manner menches the axis was a pasting. Exiles recker, interesting. Model is auspestig unspussable where, interesting. It stage a wrecker, which stage can calmans over strage, a recommend. I thank you for guide to the bast rang to verse to the information. You filled the center of the space of course y. The property is a Burkus Diggenburkust. Which is the Bruckus Diggenburkust still? It day I as a Brickus Diggenburkust design, and jury dime. Mr. Game, most to sing without a no, today complete, there's a digga, was Sorenzo, easy, had joins, iz, and complete today, is it most a string, to dig I herein, one bowl, probably, is been talkable, number after me, and this is our one when she and erection, bird, and national what was a take-out. The city, mysterization. The city is a class, is the America, a national breshering.